you getting yourself ready for our show?
Alrighty, guys, Jigs and Bigs, another Tuesday here. The countdown to spring is underway. Fishing shows are started in the Northeast, and Jigs and Bigs will be visiting select events. This week, I hit several local spots, and it was definitely for the dogs. Meanwhile, Sean bid farewell to his trusty plastic vessel and fed 3 bells kibble in the process. Wait till you hear the details here. Just the tip this week, don't identify your vehicle if you're parking like an idiot. We'll tell you why. We've got Tony and Jon, a fresh baits in the beef seat this week. We got Geekin' with Galekis back at it, guys. You do not want to miss it. Grab yourself something wonderful to enjoy. We got Jigs and Bigs goodness coming up for you right after this. Baby, what a freaking crazy week. I gotta tell you, it's been a pretty awesome week of just all kinds of good stuff here at Jigs and Bigs. Your boy got out on the water. Sean had a little adventure involving his kayak, and also poor decisions, say, and then what else do we have? Oh, I got to finally see my my oldest daughter rather in her first on-stage debut in the realm of theater for the first time, and that did not come without a little bit of bloodshed, because I'm going to go ahead and start with that. It's the most recent, and it'll kind of wrap up into the weekend. Queen and Bobby Roast Beef nearly left the parking garage at UMass Amherst in handcuffs. And it is because we were just infuriated with the level of idiocy going on as people were trying to get out of this parking garage. There is an element of this I'm going to leave out until we get to Just the Tip to go over the details, but basically you have these parking spots that are all angled, and they're angled in a way so that you could pull in and then back out and be in the appropriate lane of traffic to go to either exit or go elsewhere in the garage or whatever it is that you need to do. But it's basically designed that way to keep the aisles like more narrow, to try to get more space in there. So I understand why they do it this way, but apparently this was not understood among the local community theater viewing group on this one Saturday. We had people trying to like backing into these spots so that by pulling straight out, they were in basically setting themselves up to go in the wrong direction to block traffic. We had people trying to do 3-point turns in areas where you should not try to bang out 3-point turns. And I mean, it was just ridiculous. My wife is on in the passenger seat, and she's like, I'm about to get out of this car. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, you're not going to do anything. And I roll down my window just to try to educate these people. I'm laying on the horn. I'm like, hand gestures every which way. I put my window down. My wife is, Rob, Jesus. Freaking nuts. My daughter's in the back seat, like, what a bunch of morons. Literally about the drivers. And we're just like, are you kidding me? What are some of these people doing here?
Were they feeding these animals alcohol at the Mullins Center?
It's funny. I made a reference to one of my favorite ways to call a group of people morons, like while I'm hosting trivia. And I like to use the line quite often, like, is there a fucking gas leak in here? What is going on with you guys? When people are just tanking on questions where I'm like, you should have got that. Amsterdam is not a country. Shit like that. I'll throw that line out there because I know it's much more gentler than like, wow, you're making me feel smart. You know what I mean? So I'll say that. Is there a gas leak in here? My wife let go with that line. She's like, is there a fucking gas leak in here or something? What is wrong with these people? It was almost like somebody decided like they served punch and they just dumped like bath salts in it to see what would happen. You know what I mean? That's the level that I'm thinking they're going with it. So I was not pleased. My wife was not pleased. But we ended up last night, we went out for dinner. We went over we were in your neck of the woods. We went to the Federal.
Ooh.
Yes, and we had an amazing dinner. It was absolutely out of this world. My wife had scallops. I had this pork chop Milanese, which was out of this world. Had a little theme with my cocktail selection. My wife went with 2 Negronis and then finished up with a dessert martini. I went with a special on their cocktail menu. It was a chocolate chipotle old fashioned, which was good. There was definitely a lot of it was very chocolate forward. It was really, really interesting. Went down a little bit too easy, to be perfectly honest. So I decided to go with a Bullet Rye for my second cocktail. Just kind of sip that, and that was wonderful. And then I had a dessert martini too. My wife went with a cappuccino martini. I went with an espresso martini. So it was pretty good. But yeah, we ate like kings. Came home, had a great night's sleep. It was fantastic. But last week was busy, man. There's a lot going on. So we mentioned the shows. Obviously, Jigs and Bigs has a couple that we're going to be a part of in a big capacity this next couple of months. Like we've got the event that's going on up in Cheshire. That's at the Cheshire Rod and Gun Club. It's basically a tag sale, really, or a small used expo. It's a great place if you're looking for some bargains. This is a great place to go to pick up something that's used. If you're looking to pick up a technique that maybe you're not super familiar with or anything, this is a great place to be at. And now you and Nelson will be manning the booth on Saturday the 28th up there, but I'll be going up on Friday during their whole little setup and everything to check the stuff out and set up the booth, so everything will be ready. And I think it'll be a whole lot of fun. And the big one that we're doing is the Springfield Sportsman Show. That's a multi-day, and that one is going on at the end of February. It's I think it's the 23rd, 24th, 25th, and. Yep. It is absolutely out of this world. You know what? I actually have our booth number. I should make a note and leave it down here so I can make mention of it on the show. Lots of good stuff going on there. We got to get in touch with Doug and have him on in the next couple of weeks, really. I'd like to have him on to kind of review some of this stuff. But Sportsman Show is always an adventure because it's so inclusive. Like you've got hunting, you've got fishing, but you've also got freshwater and saltwater. You could go buy a boat or a boatload of jerky. You can do it all. And a lot of this is a really good event to bring young kids to that are interested in the outdoors. Gives them a little bit of taste of everything. So if you're looking at bows and broadheads or stuff, or you're looking at gun cases or something, or you want to go and check out, like I said, jerky or trips with guides, charters, things like that. There's all kinds of great stuff for you to check out. Plus there's some clinics that they have where they'll go over different techniques. They'll have people speak on different elements. I know last year I was able to sit in for a little striper clinic, and I forget the gentleman's name, but man, there was a lot more. It gave me a lot more insight to the world of striper fishing than I had ever had before. It's kind of nuts. And he was a big kayak angler. That was his preferred way to fish, was from a small plastic boat. So it was pretty cool. So that's coming up. That's going to be that weekend. We have a booth there, so there's not going to be a live show. We're going to be recording a lot of content right there on site. And the plan is to have a bunch of people come in and visit us and, say hello and kind of record some stuff and have a good time. That's awesome. What else as far as planning has gone on this? I did get out and fish this week. I had been around the area, and I had been seeing some pockets of open water. So I went to one of the local spots that I hit regularly throughout the year, and there was this little slice up by the dam where I like to fish where there was open water. I went there and I threw some Ned rigs, nothing. Decided I would change spots, bodies of water, same town, moved over to this one other area and got nothing over there. And then I decided, screw it, I'm gonna take a ride to the old Swift River. We'll see if we can get on some trout. And I wasn't sure what the traffic was going to be like for other anglers that were in there. I really did expect it was going to be much lighter from the time I had gone previously with Eric. So I go and I get out to my, this one little pool that I found some good structure that is stuff I want to fish. And I had eyes on fish previously. And let's back up a little bit. I pull up to the parking area and there's only one other vehicle there. And the dude is at his car. So I go and I open my door, and as soon as my door swings open, there is this absolutely adorable golden retriever, like right there in front of me. Just comes over and he was like, "Hi, pet me." Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. You just could not get enough. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm petting the dog, seems friendly enough. And I actually at that time thought that maybe he was with the other guy who was getting rigged up with his waders and everything to go hit the water. And I was like, I go walking by him and I was like, "This is your dog?" He's like, "Nope." I was like, "Oh." So I come walking down. He's following me and he's getting in the water. The dog. I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, if we see anybody else, they're going to get pissed. They're definitely going to get pissed, and they're going to think this is my dog. And that's exactly what happened. We got down to this one pool, and there were two other guys that were fishing it right there. One of them was further up and out of the way, so this dog wasn't bothering him at all, but he was like kind of zipping back and forth along this trail and getting into the water, and this one guy gets on a fish, and he's got it in the net, and the dog goes over. And he didn't think, God, I would have felt terrible if he lost it because of this dog. Oh, yeah. But he looks over and he's like, "Is this your dog?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "Oh, really?" And I said, "No, not at all." Well, the other dude who comes walking over, and at this time I still thought it was, I was still kind of confused. He comes walking in, and the dude that just asked me if it was my dog, he asked him, he's like, "Is this your dog?" He's like, "No." The other dude knew where the dog was from. Apparently, this area, this is a very high pressure area. There's cars in and out all the time. Apparently, a house across the street, this is where that dog is from. Eventually, that homeowner came walking down the trail, was like, "Come here, you big dummy, let's go," and brought him back home. And he's like, "I'm so sorry, guys, if he got in your way." Like, they weren't biting for shit. Where I was, so yeah. I wasn't concerned, but again, throwing like the usual suspects over there, inline spinners, changing some colors out, didn't really get a lot of attention from them. And then what I had done was I had used an open hook net rig instead of an EWG, and I put a super tiny paddle tail on and would drag that slowly up the current just so that the tail was kicking, and that got eyes on some pretty good looking brookies, but they just were not munching it. They just didn't want anything to do with it. It's going to happen. It's all a matter of time, but man, unbelievable.
Curse of the Swift lives.
It continues, man. I mean, I got to say, like, I make it sound like I'm there all the time and I get skunked all the time. I'm usually there like 2 or 3 times a year and I get skunked. Now I'm going to put the work in just so that I'm there enough and fish it enough so that I can hook up with my goal is a brookie. I'd take a rainbow and be glad to get rid of the curse. So, but I need a brookie to check off another species on my list. I've never caught a brookie. And then the rest of my week this week was making a very concerted effort at getting my ducks in a row to promote the multi-species events effectively so that we can really get some really great turnout. And that's gone. It's been, as much as me, I did a couple of reels this week, kind of promoting it, trying to get like the bug in everybody's ear so they know like, hey, this is coming up. It's going to launch in May. And, you and I were talking about potentially doing like, even like a little like pre-tournament, just to kind of get everybody's feet wet, get those new anglers an opportunity to kind of figure it out. Some of that is going to be dependent on weather, so don't expect us to have like full details or anything more than a couple of weeks in advance because it could all go to shit. But I mean, with it being New England,
supposed to get a storm tonight.
I know. Yeah, my youngest daughter's school for tomorrow is already closed, but she goes to school up in the mountains, so I get it.
Yeah, I think they were talking like 7 to 10 up there, right?
Yep, 7 to 10.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're talking like up to 4 in the valley. So, and then take a step back.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, as far as like weather goes, I forget whose content I was watching, and they had just gone like winter camping nearby, and I was like, oh, I wonder where they are. Oh, it was one of my trivia players had gone hiking actually on Saturday, and I was like, oh, I wonder where they went, because it was just covered in snow. I'm like, oh, they must have gone like, into Maine or something. No, they were just at like the Vermont border. But it was far enough north where they got snow on Friday that was pretty significant,
Speaking of the mountains, before I take a step back, today Nelson and I believe one of his daughters and his daughter's boyfriend went out with Nate and his buddy John.
Yep, I saw that.
They were out on the ice. I guess they jigged up a few panfish, a few perch, a few bluegills, but nothing took any minnows under the traps. So.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't have a very good day. That honestly, that might have been the only time I would have been able to go ice fishing all day, but I was at home taking care of house stuff that needed to be done before the fishing season, to be quite honest.
Yep.
You know, I don't know if I mentioned to you, my refrigerator freezer drain clogged up. So that meant I had to thaw everything, vacuum it out. So all my groceries that are normally in the refrigerator are happily outside in a bunch of coolers with no ice because it's 35 degrees all day.
You don't need it.
So
exactly.
It'll be fine. But that sucked up pretty much all day. And then a lot of stuff with getting ready. Mm-hmm. So one of the things, and this is the stepping back moment, I wanted to just throw my 2 cents in on, is that this weekend on Saturday for the Cheshire swap meet at the Rod and Gun Club, I will be there, but I'm going to be in and out because I have obviously it's a weekend. I have basketball to coach because that's every day of my life. Until the spring. So I'll be in and out, but Nelson will be there with special guest.
Yeah.
Chris DeBari.
Yeah, he will.
So Chris will be hanging out. And I'll be heading down. I'll be in and out. I think I'll be there towards the end of the day. We'll find out. And then the next day, Nelson and I are actually going to be we're doing some logistical work, helping out with Three Bells. We'll be in New York City for the New York City Boat Show.
Nice.
So on Sunday, Nelson and I will be down there. I don't know how long. Who knows with New York traffic? We'll figure it out. But we're hoping to be down there in the later afternoon. And
wait, you'll be there on Sunday?
Yep.
Maybe I can talk Holly into taking a swing over to the boat show just for shits and giggles. We're going to be in New York this weekend.
Oh yeah,
we're going to see Louis C.K. at Madison Square Garden, dude. Second row.
Oh, there you go. Well,
yeah.
we'll be there. So we'll be on. We're not going to be there all day, and especially not all weekend. But yeah. So that's that.
No shit.
As far as appearances go, just to hit the real close ones first. Next up, I made a purchase today. Actually, about 20 minutes before we started recording. No, I rounded out my rod selection. I decided to carry a sixth rod this year, and I ended up buying a duplicate rod of one I already have. So I bought another Arc Invoker Pro, 7'3" medium heavy in their mag series. It did well enough for me last year. It's an incredibly versatile all-purpose rod.
Yep.
I bought another one.
Nice.
So I'm going to be carrying 6 rods with me.
He's a 6-rod man.
Yes, I'm a 6-rod man with my pecker in my hand.
Okay.
You had to.
I set you up. I
You teed the ball up and said, hit it. Hit it. But these new rods will be accompanying me in my brand new Jackson Nar, courtesy of Three Bells Outfitters. I bid fond farewell to the Native Slayer this week on Friday. I brought it down to Three Bells. We stripped it of the stuff that will be going on to the NAR, which actually I just realized now when we get done recording tonight, all of that shit is still in the front and back seat, and I've got to bring the kids to school tomorrow. So I guess I have some cleaning to do when we go off air here. But yeah, so I'm psyched to be in a new vessel that should get me to where I need to go, and looking forward to it.
That's awesome.
Obviously, the Native Slayer did a great job over 2 years, but it was time for change, and here we go, Jackson. After the drop-off, I asked Lauren, I said, let's go to lunch. Let's go to lunch. Derek wanted to go to lunch too. I had to do some research to find out which restaurants would be suitable for all the bullshit that I have to deal with.
Sure, of course.
And I found the closest place, and I didn't look at their menu. It was super vegan Hippieville. They didn't even have dairy products there. And I didn't realize that until after we ordered. Yeah. Because it says pizza. Why would a pizza not have cheese? Well, the answer is when you're at a vegan place. If I was vegan, this place would be top notch.
It'd be great.
I am not. Nothing against vegans.
No.
But it was the effect of eating Play-Doh. I'm sorry. I'm not going to name the place. They did their best. Under their own restrictions.
I have a thing. There are certain vegan dishes that I think are wonderful, but they're definitely not the ones that are trying to imitate something else necessarily.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's for me,
exactly.
That's the thing, you know? Food's food, you know? Like, it's all good. I love beans and I love rice and I love vegetables and, you know, fruits and everything. And it's great, you know? But it's like at the same time when it's just not if you eat, you know, cheese, you know, if you can,
I don't have any issues
why
with
wouldn't
dairy.
you? Yeah,
exactly.
That's exactly. I totally understand that. Like, it's like that with Becca. I know she gets a lot of bullshit in her comments because she's got a dairy allergy, a fairly severe one too. Like to where when we truck camped, I was like, "Hey, is this okay?" You know, I'm like, "Is this? Can you eat this or what?" You know, and she's like, you know, basically gave me some guidelines to watch, like what to go with. So I was like, "Yeah, we'll go totally dairy free," which is easy going in. But like, you know, for her, if she's gonna have something and cheese is like didn't you say one of the dishes was a grilled cheese?
Yeah, it was a fake grilled cheese. It was grilled cheese sliders, which looked great on paper, but the cheese was actually some sort of weird composite of mashed sunflower seeds and seasonings.
Yeah.
It was like eating Play-Doh. But that being said, the bread was phenomenal.
The bread was out of this world.
Yeah, the bread was really good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm nothing against them, but I just
of
realized
course.
we were going to that. And here's the worst part. Quarter of a mile down the road.
You made a deposit? You did a little spackling?
No, that was when I got home.
Oh, okay.
Quarter of a mile down the road was a burger place that could have accommodated my needs.
Oh, shut up. Oh,
and
yeah.
Derek was familiar with it.
There was a plan B there?
No, there was another place.
Oh, okay. All right.
More and more places are doing what needs to be done.
What needs to be done.
For folks like me, but... Yeah, it sucked. So I apologize to Lauren and Derek. And I think when I told you, you laughed and said, well, you're all going to have great BMs over the next 2 days.
Yeah, your colons will be clean as a whistle.
Scrubbed. But that was pretty much my week. Just prep. Once I got the Slayer out, I was able to bring my trailer into the garage so I can get starting to work on that. I've got to rewire that. I've got to do the rust guard on there. And I have to get a new fender because I think I mentioned at the end of last year.
Oh, I was there for that.
Yeah, the fender just took off.
Fender go bye-bye.
We got dirty looks from a nearby motorist, and that was that.
What the fuck?
Good stuff.
It happens, man. It happens. You know, such is the life with the trailer, dude. I totally get it. Oh, man. Todd Grubb's video. Oh, a couple of things, man. First and foremost, so Todd released the video of the outing that we had at the Narragansett Surfcasters event and our whole documenting everything at DB's Pizza. We got to meet Pat Martin, like all the fun that we had, you know, with Daphne and Matt Thayer and everybody, and then the carp fishing and a lot of the cuisine, you know. So check that video out over on Todd's channel. It's really good. But I also want to give Todd it's kind of a huge pat on the back because this is huge. Todd is the on the cover of On the Water's 2023 Angler's Almanac, New York, New Jersey, which is just absolutely amazing. I was talking with Paul over the weekend, and he was actually watching that video, and he's like, "Man, Todd is such an interesting dude." I was like, honestly, I'm like we were just talking about some of the trips that he's been on, and there's pictures of like trophy tuna that he's caught. You know, I mean, it's just like it's unbelievable. And I really do like anglers like him and anglers like Nick from 618 Fishing and Josh in Nebraska Pig Patrol. I'd love to see like some of those dudes get involved with the multi-species or even the Chronic Trips tournaments with us, you know, along with the Jigs and Bigs, and just mix it up, man, because I think that like I feel like there's multi-species anglers are built different, you know. There's something about it that's just, it's wild, you know. And when it's not just treated like bycatch necessarily, you know, it's just it's crazy. But he's got that video out. Congrats to him. He's got a few of a few copies. It was Woozy Fishing, actually, that took the picture and then submitted it. So I don't even think he knew that this was happening until, bang, it was out, and then everybody was sharing it. It's like, holy shit. We are going to be having Taya on the show shortly. Now, Taya is the mastermind behind Poetic Pores. She's sending me a copy of her book. We're going to talk about her book. I picked up a couple of the Poetic Pores last night. I got another I got another old fashioned that I want to try with some of my favorite whiskeys. And then I got a mule for my wife. And this was on Todd's suggestion because Holly's a gin drinker. She likes gin cocktails for the most part. And the ingredients that are in a mule will basically make an old fashioned style drink called a buck, which is traditionally a gin cocktail. So we're going to give that a shot, see how it goes. I have grand visions in my mind of like either camping trips with the two of us hanging out, drinking our cocktails by the fire, or, renting a lake house on, for like Hoodlum Fest or some shit like that, and sipping those cocktails out by the deck while a bunch of savages go out and night fish.
Take naked.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We're going streaking.
Yep. Just expect it.
That's what we talked about last night at dinner, actually, was like, she's like, I'm all about, if you want to do like a weekend away in the Berkshires or something and you go and fish and do this, and that would be awesome. She's like, we could do that with your friends. It'd be great. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay. I think she just wants to trip out. Is really what it is. I don't think she wants to fish at all, but I think it could be pretty awesome. What else is going on? It's been a really good week. It's been a busy week. This weekend I will be out of town. And then we start revving up for the Sportsman Show. It's going to be big. And actually, this week's interview, we have Jon and Tony from Fresh Baits. And Fresh Baits is one of those companies where it was like the lines, like, it was just a matter of connecting dots, because they had a relationship working with Joe with Old Glory, and also, of course, Dude, being
just a matter of connecting dudes.
Just a matter of connecting dudes, which is gross, but also very accurate. We finally got them on the show, and I make no secrets that one of the favorite Ned baits that I've been throwing is their Helamite bait. It's sort of taken over that spot of a Finesse TRD. It's.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's one of the ones that I'll go to when I really, really need something kind of delicate, and I love it. And I was throwing one this past weekend, and unfortunately, either I was limited with what I had for open water, and the fish were not there, or the situation with the trout, they were being picky little bitches. And it happens.
Being chased by a lab.
That doesn't help at all. Adorable dog, though. Absolutely gorgeous dog. There is one other spot along the Swift that I still want to try, and I scoped it out on my way home. I was running short on time because I had to be back in time to get ready for trivia. This week, I think I'm going to flip-flop those spots, and I'm going to get both of them. I'm going to start a little bit further downriver and then come back up, but we'll see what happens. The
curse has got to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one way I'm going to get it to break, and that's by just sending it repeatedly, and we'll make that happen. I do have a strong feeling I will be in my kayak way earlier than I ever have been, than any year ever. I definitely feel like that's going to be happening. Probably going to be sometime in March.
I'm going to be surprised. Excuse me, if or I'm not going to be surprised if you go to the Swift one day and you're whipping a spinner around and you light up a big pike. There's pike in there.
Are there up there?
Well, they're coming. They're coming up. I believe they are.
Yeah, depending on actually that lower river spot that I'm thinking of, you very well might be right. And there is a spot where those rivers kind of connect, or with the Ware River. And there's just a couple of good spots, but it's a little bit of a hike to get in there. And actually, as long as if we get, depending on what the snow is like, it might not be too bad to get out there and try that. So it might be a third spot to try.
Yeah, I just remember when we first started the show, and I was doing the fishing reports and going literally from shop to shop every week and talking to people and making phone calls. I do remember hearing from Rodney up in Orange that somebody had caught like a 30 or 40 inch pike out of the Swift.
No shit.
So they're in there, yeah.
No kidding. I saw a guy. Remember the guy that I spoke to? We talked about. It was last winter. The guy with the folding kayak. The guy in the wheelchair. He didn't have any legs. He was going out looking for pike in the Swift, and I was like, I didn't think there was any pike in the Swift, but.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are, yeah.
No shit. I mean, I could see where it is. Those rivers are connected and, big-ass bodies of water feed into them, so you never know.
Now, they're connected to the Chicopee, but there's a dam at one point, so I don't think they'd be below the dam, but...
The Quabog.
They're coming out of Quabog. That's right. Quabog River is one of the 3 rivers that makes up the Chicopee, so, yeah.
It could be.
It's just going to depend on the dams. I don't know where all the dams are, like... 3 Rivers and where. And yes, we have a town in Massachusetts called 3 Rivers, folks. You're welcome.
We have a town in 3 Rivers, but the one that everybody's going to talk about is Ware. We do have a town in Massachusetts called Ware, and it's spelled Ware. And the town motto, for those of you that need to know, is the town that can't be licked. Though a lot of us have tried, and some have succeeded.
I thought it was... We love meth.
We love meth. No, that's Bondsville.
Okay, my bad.
I used to think it was Bongsville, but it's not. It's Bondsville, and they do love meth. And there's a big dam actually right there in Bondsville, right at the Swift. Big dam. A goddamn, maybe. I'm a piece of shit. What else? So there's a couple other things. I mentioned that that piece about Todd being on the water Angler's Almanac, but we got another really good article that came our way, and I think it was actually Berkshire Brett that sent this one to us. Actually, I take it back. There were a couple of people that sent this article to us, and Sean, you had sent it to me as well, but this comes from the website thehill.com, and it's basically a report that says study suggests U.S. freshwater fish highly contaminated with, quote, forever chemicals. We talked about how this is obviously going to be like a hot button kind of thing, because there are, to the not so enlightened individual in our area, you probably hear this all the time. Do you eat those fish that you catch? I think the vast majority of people don't.
Yep.
And I think that it's the vast majority of people probably don't, because they realize that in our area and in lots of areas that are like ours, where you have those old mill towns, that factory sediment that gets into the water is not a good thing. Like let alone like the human impact, just in general, just humans being terrible pieces of shit and like dumping things like mattresses and garbage and stuff into bodies of water. But like that industrial stuff has a huge impact on the quality and I guess the level of safety that comes with eating freshwater fish. And this article, and I had gone through it briefly to check out, so I don't know necessarily all the details, but they're basically saying that even eating fish a handful of times throughout the year could have an impact as if you drank, the water regularly for months at a time. And it could, it's definitely something to kind of be aware of. I don't know. What was your take on it, Sean?
So it left me with a couple of questions. Now, The Hill repeated that article. I'm pretty sure it was an AP. I think I sent you the Yahoo link. Brett sent the Hill link. So The Hill, I think, has a slight political lean, but there's much worse stuff out there. So I actually read The Hill quite a bit when I am really honestly messed up in the head and want to think about politics, which isn't very often, but The Hill's my go-to on that. So what I got out of that article was, and this is where my questions are. Now, I've talked about and I follow the EPA recommendations for eating freshwater fish pretty much throughout the U.S., right? And then I try to pair that up and be as educated as possible by looking up any other information I can find on any boots on the ground studies. Like I brought up that UMass study that was done years and years ago about what fish are actually carrying the toxins, because something like heavy metals, right?
Yep.
Heavy metals are in your water cycle. So they get released up into the air in factory smoke, let's say, for example. They get released up into the air. They get rained down into our fresh water, right? And then small microorganisms get contaminated with them. And what eats small microorganisms, but eventually gets to minnows, all the predators that going up the food chain.
Uh-huh.
And then the minnows are now rich with heavy metals, and then the bass and the pickerel and
your predators start eating them.
The big predators, the apex predators start eating them, and then they're super contaminated. And then what's really incredibly contaminated are like eagles and ospreys.
Yeah.
So the higher you up on you're up on the food chain, the more fish you eat, the more you're going to be contaminated with this shit. Right?
And just so that we're clear, when Sean says heavy metals, he's not saying I require lasagna. That's different.
Yeah. No, I was.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't realize. Okay.
But either way,
are you going to be fishing from the Lorna Shore? Is that what?
Yeah, no. Well, I just got tickets to see them, as a matter of fact, in August. But the study that I key in on, that UMass study that was done a few years ago, showed that fish that were on the bottom, like catfish and bass, that were apex predators, are going to eat a lot of minnows and a lot of fish, were higher in mercury than omnivores that are all over the water column, like perch.
Yeah.
And then it showed where in the state these fish were more prone to having more chemicals in them. And it was like out west here, which makes sense, up in the mountains, you're getting all that fucking smoke from factories out in the west just moving this way. And it hits the lakes and the mountains a little easier than it does out on the coast, where you've got the Gulf Stream pushing the air up, and it kind of breaks it up a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I eat fish regularly. I've exceeded those EPA warnings on mass, I think.
Sure.
I mean, on average, I don't. I mean, if you look at my average for a year, definitely not. What is it, once a month you're supposed to as an adult male? But I have been eating a lot more ocean fish, which is supposedly safer.
Yep.
All right. As far as these heavy metals, and PCBs is a big one in our area. Like
the Housatonic is bad with them. Yeah.
Housatonic and the Connecticut are completely trash for the rest of our lifetimes, our kids' lifetimes,
and probably
our
their
grandkids' lifetimes. You can't eat fish out of there, which is amazing, because it seems like once a year, one of the local news stations will do a special on ice fishing, and they'll be out at the Connecticut River at the Oxbow, and there'll be somebody yanking fish up saying, "Hey, I'm keeping these to eat," and they've got a ton of perch, couple bass here and there. And I get sick when I see that.
Yep.
Because I'm like, that's like the worst.
Now, there was a while where, specifically with PCBs, where the state's guidelines were to not eat any fish out of the river except for migratory or stocked fish. And I think that was just there. I'm not even sure that there are areas of the river where they're stocking different species of fish. And that's the idea with stocked fish, is it's supposed to be a food source. So my concern is, like, with this story, with these super chemicals, these forever chemicals, what's the impact on stocked fish? A fish that was raised in basically a hatchery and then released and has lived in that environment that's got those chemicals, or for a shorter period of time. Are they as heavily contaminated? Is the risk not so bad? Are we wasting money, stocking fish?
Well, I think we are. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's stocking fish is ridiculous. Why? I don't understand it. But no, I think the longer they're in there, the more chemicals are going to get in there, but they're still not get in their bodies, but they're still not going to be accumulating a lifetime's worth. I mean, think about a 2 or a 3 year old trout that's 14, 15 inches long that they've just thrown in.
Yep.
Right? That they've raised from its embryo, from its egg.
Yeah, they've hatched it.
Yeah, and it's been eating whatever fucking pellets they're feeding them, right? It's not eating bugs, it's not eating minnows that are eating all the microorganisms. My guess is they're going to have a lot less. So stock trout are probably the safest,
the best.
To eat. Yeah. Unfortunately, what I always see, and I've mentioned this, is like I don't look at. I mean, I'll look at fins to externally tell a stock trout, but sometimes you can't quite tell. And then when you fillet them, their flesh is almost white because for whatever reason, living in those little troughs in the hatcheries, they're not. I don't know if they don't have the right blood flow or what the hell's going on, but they shouldn't be pink like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why you see when you have farm-raised fish, farm-raised salmon, farm-raised trout, and you see it at a supermarket, usually it's been dyed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dyed red because it just doesn't look right otherwise.
No.
Now, I don't know if that's an issue. I've never heard anything about it. It kind of creeps me out a little bit.
And you would think that if it were something as simple as like a vitamin deficiency or some type of a nutritional deficiency in what they were being fed versus that they would fix that, you know, to go ahead, that's something they could change in the feed, but who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've eaten them.
Yeah.
Doesn't taste any different, but I don't know what the hell, why it's lighter rather than red. Is it a blood flow thing? Is it a vitamin or like you're saying, a deficiency, a chemical deficiency? I don't know. But I mean, it does scare me that now I can't, I'm really leery about eating freshwater fish. I can make bass pizzas out of saltwater fish too, so I guess I'll just have to go that route.
Oh yeah, I mean, hey man, sea robins are plentiful and they taste wonderful, and you know you can scare the shit out of your kids with them because they look like aliens. You know. Well,
I just don't know how to fillet them. Nelson's a madman with that. Those sea robins.
Simple. All we got to do is just keep Nelson on deck, and just keep him from jumping into the 15 beers while he's got a fillet knife in his hand. Afterward, we'll reward him with all the beers he can drink.
He's gonna knock down that 14th beer and go, look, I got to go park backwards in a garage. I'll be back in an hour.
I gotta go. There's a local theater group nearby. I got to go park like an a-hole. Let me go bang out a 3-point turn. Boom, boom, boom. In heavy traffic. God damn it. Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, you get like studies like this that pop up, and you always have to wonder. You're like, what's the source coming from? Like, is it really, I mean, the only real thing that you can really advise anybody is just be the fuck careful when you're eating fish. Don't, make it your primary diet. And I think like when it comes to stocked fish, like that's what that shit's for. You know what I mean? Like, and I know a lot of people are just like, oh, I just don't like trout. I'm like, the reason why trout get stocked is because they're the easiest to clean and the easiest to cook. Some people just don't like the way that they taste. I think you guys are nuts. I think they taste great.
Yep. And another thing in that article that I totally went off on a tangent, forgot to mention was they really highlighted how dirty the Great Lakes region was.
Oh, yeah. Filthy.
Well, yeah, it's horrible. But, I mean, Lake Erie used to catch on fire, right? Or was it Lake Michigan? Because of the chemicals on it.
Yeah.
What do you expect? You know what I mean? So we don't know what species of fish were tested. We don't know. There's a lot of questions I have now that I've read some research papers on this shit. Mm-hmm. It makes me ask questions, which is good. I just don't have the answers.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It sucks. The whole thing sucks. We live in a fucking dirty, filthy country that is polluted.
And that's the other thing, too, that I think is a good guideline to just throw out there, that if there's nothing, for conservation's sake, like leaving the big fish to keep those big genes out there is one really great thing. It's another reason why you want to, if you're going to keep anything, you want to keep them more on the smaller side. But also, this goes for like if you're going to eat larger fish that can, let's say you're eating pickerel, maybe that 21 or 22 inch isn't the best one to keep. You know what I mean? Because you got to think it's probably taking down bigger, just as far as like mercury and other heavy metals. Like you got to assume that's got to have a greater degree than like that 16 inch one. That's a good one to keep.
Been around longer and eating more shit.
Yeah, eating more shit. Keep those good genes out there, but I don't know. So I guess that is as far as that's concerned. Let's see, what else do we have today? We covered the dogs. We talked about the boat. I think that actually about does it for this first segment here. You got anything else you want to add?
I'm a little amazed we kept it under an hour this time.
We really did. It's a little crazy to be perfectly honest, but
we jinxed the fuck out of ourselves last week when we said I got to do this quick, and then it turned into the longest episode we've ever done.
Yeah, it was insane. And what insane 4 hours and 3 minutes I think in total if I'm rounding up. Insane. Like I can't freaking believe it.
Oh, I have a question.
Oh, what's up?
We had discussed something about last episode.
Yeah.
For any of our listeners to keep their ears peeled. Did anyone mention anything?
So Bill Galekis did. He did.
Oh, Bill
he was
did.
the only one. And then I told him, I was like, oh, hey, so we got something for you. And he was like, I can't make use of that. He was like, pass it on down the line. I said, okay, yeah, nobody's reached out otherwise. So we will see. It was good. That was a long episode though. I'm like 4 hours. That was crazy. And, yeah, I think I was talking with Noelle. It sounds like she might be in for these multi-species tournaments as well.
Good.
I think she'll be pretty stoked about it. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm going to go in every single one. And I think what I'm actually going to try to do is create just some YouTube content for our YouTube channel. You know, going and trying this shit out, you know, get out there and fish, you know, like a madman, you know, anywhere I can go. And that was one other thing too. It was like I was talking with Wild Bill, and he had mentioned he had a shift in his sort of plans for this year as far as what he wanted to do as goals wise, as far as fishing, and he kind of wanted to bring it back to like just going out and having fun and doing his thing. And I'm stoked because I love fishing with Bill, 100%, and I just love gathering, you know. I love a get together, going out, catching fish. It's all good. I even threw the invite out to him to join us up at Moosehead. And
oh wow,
I can't wait for May, dude. I really can't, because we'll be up there and we'll be in there for the May tournament. It's just going to be nuts, absolutely bananas.
So that May tournament that we were talking about was that the EKF?
No.
Which tournament?
No, I'm talking about the May multi-speed Jigs and Bigs tournament.
Okay. I thought you meant be up there for it. Never mind. Disregard. I'm sorry, because I fucked up and told a friend of mine in May that hey, I'll be up there, and I realized the EKF tournament is in September today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
gotcha.
I don't know what's going on with May now at all. We'll have to have a discussion off air about this, but
we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Exactly. Yeah. We'll do some adulting, but
I love it.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got, man.
All right, cool. Why don't we go ahead and wrap it up? When we get back, guys, we got to adjust the tip, and it does relate to that whole that parking garage situation, you know, where Queen Beef and I almost got led away in cuffs because we are just crazy people who can't keep our cool. So, yeah, we will see you guys in a bit. Don't go too far. We got more coming up next segment. Then we got Jon and Tony from Fresh Baits in our third segment. More Geeking with Galekis. You don't want to miss it, guys. We'll be back right after this. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form content. For all your premium kayak needs, we partner with Three Bells Outfitters, located along Smith Cove in Niantic, Connecticut. Three Bells is your go-to location for kayaks and accessories from Hobie, Native, Bonafide, Jackson, Yak Attack, Naqua, Boondocks, Burley Pro, and many more. Financing options are available to upgrade you and your kayak fishing experience. White glove delivery service is also available. Visit threebellsoutfitters.com for more info, and don't forget to tell them that Jigs and Bigs sent you. When it comes to high-quality polarized sunglasses, we've partnered with Torres. They provide stylish sunglasses in a variety of frames that are light and fit comfortably on your face. The polarization cuts glare and allows you to see the whole picture, helping you identify what's below the water's surface. They have a 60-day risk-free trial, lifetime warranty, and free shipping. Plus, you can save yourself 10% with the code JIGSandBigs10 at checkout. Visit Torrege.com to check out their selection. That's www.torege.com. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
Absolutely right. absolutely right. We're going to give everybody just the tip. So here's what we got, guys. This week's Just the Tip is just a little bit of a reminder, and Sean wanted to, make sure that I mentioned that this does apply to anglers out there, because lots of times you'll see anglers that they'll label their vehicles with even something as simple as like their Instagram tag or a website or something like that. And it makes them stick out a little bit, to the point where sometimes people can figure out who you are just by driving around. And I say this because I'm going to go back to that story about the situation where my wife and I were leaving that performance where my daughter was at a local theater auditorium, and this was located on the campus of UMass in Amherst, and we, were advised to park in the garage at the campus center, that garage there, and it was just absolute chaos getting out of there. We got to our car. We're among some of the first people out the auditorium, just because where our seats were, there was an exit right there. So bang, we got it right out. We got over. We stood in line for like maybe 5 minutes, and we paid our toll for our parking fee. Got on the car, and then backed out of our spot and went along to follow the signs for the exit, and then we were met with this just giant line of cars going out to the exit, and people not being able to like navigate, who goes first or taking turns or whatever. So there seemed to be a holdup up at the top, and on to the left and right sides of us, there were cars in the parking spaces that were these are parking spaces that were intended for you to pull straight into, not back into, so that you could pull straight out, because they were not lined up with the flow of traffic the way you would be coming out. If it was totally empty, you can pull this off with no problem. But when you have a line of cars, you screwed yourself. You're stuck there now, really, until somebody can let you just kind of like scoot right in. We had a bunch of people who decided that they were clearly more important than anybody else, and they would have to back out. Some people were backing out of spots, and instead of looping around the way they were supposed to, they were backing out and then doing a 3-point turn. One of these people, and I'm going to throw this out there because just to throw this out there, that I'm hoping that this information gets back to this individual. And this is no shade to anybody that's a first responder of any kind, especially firefighters. But one of these cars, I took a picture of their plate, and I zoomed into the plate, and it says right on the front that it is it's a black Ford Explorer, and it's the vehicle of the Leverett Fire Chief. And here's the thing. That vehicle is identifiable. So whomever was driving it, I'm not saying that the chief drives like a moron, but whoever was behind the wheel at that point was driving the chief's car like a fucking moron. And this is the reason why it's important to be cognizant. Like, I'm not saying don't like put your logo or anything on your vehicle. By all means, do that. The tip is don't forget it's there. Because if you're going to do something boneheaded, don't forget that if you're always branding yourself, don't let up on that. Don't forget that it's there. I say this because I speak from experience. Before I had my 4Runner, I had this little white Ford Escape. And when I first got it, I branded it to advertise everywhere with my company logo on the back window. And it worked great. It got me lots of attention. But don't get me wrong. And at the time, I was even driving for Uber and Lyft. So I would be all over the place. And if I ever did anything stupid, I 100% would hear about it. 100%. Oh, I saw, and it only happened like once. And then I was like, oh shit, that's right. So I always try to drive and act like my name is on my vehicle, because I try to, I'm always trying to promote what I'm doing. And some of it may be out there. And even my truck now, it doesn't have my name on it or anything, but it's identifiable. People can see it. They can figure out that it's me. I mean, I did a wedding recently where I pulled up and I parked, I loaded up my gear, and I think I even talked about it on the show. The groom was a listener, and he comes up to me and he was like, oh, I pulled up and I saw the truck with the Hookshead Hoodlum sticker and, the harder sticker on there. And he's like, I knew it was you, man. I got so excited. And I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty crazy. But also at the same time, a little creepy, Yeah. It's like, it's just, that's the tip, is don't forget if you're branding your vehicle or you have a sign on there that could give somebody a heads up as to who you are, and you do something stupid, it could come back to you. And that's what my hope is. I hope that somebody is listening to the show and says, oh my God, I know the Leverett Fire Chief. Hey, who was driving your vehicle on the 21st of January in Amherst in the afternoon, Maybe you should have a conversation with them about how the fuck to park in a parking garage appropriately and not be a dick.
Yeah. I mean, when you and I discussed this before the show, I had made mention that's why anybody who has like a skin on their vehicle or on their boat with their name, you brought up Instagram addresses. Everyone's got all their shit all over the place. Like, that's great. But you also asked me, have you ever gone to anyone's Instagram account that you've seen that has it plastered on their boat or car? And I said, absolutely not.
Oh, I definitely have. I've had people that were just like idiots at lights or something like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I get to it. Like right near my house, actually. And that's because I was there. I was like, oh yeah, I read that username and I just kept it in mind. Pull into my driveway, grab my phone. I'm like, hey, you're a douche. Nice move at the end of 391 and High Street, you asshole. Shit like that. I'm that guy. I'm like, right. Yeah, put the call for service line on, and I'm gonna go Karen on you. Yeah. That is what it is, and I own it. It's all right. But it's one of these things. That's what ultimately my goal is like, especially with a vehicle like that, because you nailed it. You're like, it probably wasn't the chief driving it. It probably wasn't. Yeah. But maybe it was someone he should know about. Maybe not driving his vehicle. That's ultimately like what my goal is. So I'm gonna get off my fucking high horse.
Well, I almost went into Karen realm myself yesterday.
Oh,
because there's a gentleman that I've both spoken to and about.
Oh.
And called the local authorities about, was back 2 days in a row. He just had to fish.
Oh.
And I left it alone. I didn't say anything. I didn't call anybody. I just left it alone.
Yep.
And I feel better for it.
Oh, really? Okay. Good.
I actually feel a lot better for it. But unfortunately, where my house sits, if I look out my back window, I can see across the lake, and there's this guy just fucking not giving a shit.
Yeah.
He doesn't care that.
Is he bank
this
fishing?
Isn't his property. Huh?
Is he bank fishing?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's some gray area there. He may or may not be a relative of the person that lives there, but he walks in whenever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
I really don't have a say as to where or who comes onto people's properties.
Yeah,
to fish.
exactly.
The problem I get is with this one area, if somebody drives by and sees one car parked there, they don't know that there may be permission or not involved.
Exactly.
And then within a month, you have people loading boats in from this one area. It's a mess. And that one neighbor of mine has young kids, and like I fucking absolutely would go berserk if I thought people were going through my yard, my yard whenever the fuck they wanted. And I had young kids. I'd be like, get out. Who are you? Leave.
Yeah.
And doesn't seem to happen. So I don't know what's going on across the lake. And to be quite honest, I don't want to know.
And that's one of those things where like you would think like, okay, so maybe we should put a sign up that says fishing only allowed with explicit permission from, property owners. But at the same time, like when you do that, it's still going to be idiots that are just like, oh, I'm just going to say that I know so-and-so or whatever.
Oh, you see, I hear that
happens all the
again.
fucking time.
I don't argue with people.
There's there's no quick fix. All you can do, is
call the police.
That's it.
Let them sort it out. But there was a sign that said, private property, no access to the lake. Now here's where this sign went. This sign was going to be placed at this one weak spot where people seem to think it's fucking public property and they walk on yards, right? So I found out. I went to my neighbor who is adjacent to that property, and I said, "Hey, where's that sign?" And he said I had it. He goes, "Oh, well, one of the other former directors took it from me, borrowed it." I said, "Oh, maybe he's using it in another area." No, this guy used it to like reinforce part of his fucking floor and then tiled over it. That's where there's a sign in one of the houses on my lake that is fucking part floor. I am in disbelief over that.
That this is absolutely ridiculous, man, to consider.
Yeah.
Wow, that's super shitty.
Redneck bullshittery.
Totally.
So I don't know. I don't know what to do other than I'm shutting my mouth and I don't fucking care. Somebody else will get pissed off, and I'm kind of done. If they're not on my yard and they're not, I don't even know. I can't even say they're not even fucking breaking laws, but if someone's allowed onto the lake by a neighbor of mine, which I have no say about on their property, but then they're fishing down at my end and it's fucking April and the water's 45 degrees and they're in a canoe on a windy day with no life vest standing up with their 8-year-old and they're usually like, I want to say something, but I can't. Yeah. I can't. I'm not going to. I can't do it because I've tried to take it the regular way through the lake or the I'm not going to say legal way. I'm going to say the proper chain of command. I've taken it up that way and have gotten nowhere with it. Yeah. And I've even said, hey, are we at risk living on this lake where this fucker could go in and he was led on by somebody else? Like, what's going to happen? Because we live in America in 2023.
Exactly.
Somebody dies. You don't want your liability. Everybody gets sued. Yeah. Everybody gets sued. So what do we do? And you know what? I don't know. And I'm just going to shut up about it. Yep. That's it.
Man, that's crazy.
Yep. Oh. This is adulting, my friend.
That's what it is. That's what it is. So we're gonna shift. Oh wait, dude, we have another 5 segments of bait of the week.
We forgot about the bait of the week.
Oh my goodness! Do me a favor, man. Look up that article, and I'm gonna go ahead and get the open ready for bait of the week so that we can just jump in because I totally forgot about bait of the week. I knew that we had something else going on this week, and here it is. So let's go ahead. We'll do it, guys.
Chicks and Pigs, bait of the week.
So you guys know we have been talking about this article that had been released from Wired to Fish. Wired to Fish is, one of the trustworthy online publications that you can check out that we really kind of like. And, there's some really good stuff that you can learn here. And I got to find this article. It's 25 of the best baits. They're broken down by category. And...
Bobby, look up the article, please. I have something to read to everyone. I sent you another article that we really just got to dig into. Go ahead. You look.
I'm looking forward
I'm going to take over.
You take over. You dive in.
Very important article everyone needs to read about. From Yahoo via Next Shark, whatever the hell Next Shark is. Titled, Knife-Wielding Roosters Kill 2 Men in Cockfighting Events in India.
That's right. Forgot about that. I don't even know
this is what Bobby and I do in our off time, folks. We send each other this shit. During the incident in, Kakinada?
I think it is Kakinada, actually.
Yep. The 43-year-old owner of one of the fighting roosters bled to death after being slashed by his prize cock.
Gotta watch out.
They reportedly tied blades to their rooster and it became intimidated by the crowd. Then it flew up and landed on the owner, causing the blades to severely slash his leg. Although the man was rushed to a local hospital, he was later pronounced dead. In a separate incident in the same district, a spectator identified as so-and-so also bled to death after he was slashed in the hand. So, India, deadly cockfighting.
Very.
On to lures. You got it?
I got it.
All right, good.
Yeah, I don't even know when the last time I was at a cockfight was, but it was nothing as intense as that.
We'll talk about it with Bill. Oh, I just found the article too.
Yep.
All right.
So our first bait that we're going to cover today, because we're in the third group of 5 here. We're going to go 11 to 15 here. What we have is they're walking topwater, which is a classic, and it's Sean the Fisherman that introduced this bait to me. It's the Hedden Zara Spook. Classic. I mean, like, really kind of, you don't get a more iconic walking bait than a Zara Spook, I think.
You don't. It was perfection out of the package when they made it originally, and it still is. Wow, where do I start with the Zara Spook? So when I was younger, I didn't know really, because I had no guidance on this. It was just read out of books, and I didn't get it. I didn't understand rod weights and tapers until 10 to 15 years ago.
Oh yeah.
All right. And when I was a kid, I just had a medium spinning rod, and I would throw 8 or 10 pound test on there, and I would run Zara Spooks all over the place, just mono.
Oh yeah.
And I learned to walk it wide. I learned to walk it so tight. Bobby, you've seen me run these things.
Oh,
I can do a lot with them.
They're pretty awesome.
And for years, that's really all I ever used. I used Zara Spooks, and I used Zara Puppies, which are about half the size and skinnier. And really, I had so much. I mean, all the big fish I caught on those, and they were probably 17, 18 inches. I'm not saying they were 5 pounders, but I caught a ton of those fish over the years. And then when I moved to those Zara Puppies, that's when I found they turned on smallmouth in rivers, and I just went to town with that for years. And then for whatever reason, I got away from them. I don't know why. I just, maybe it was because I really started to learn subsurface techniques, and it wasn't all top water. And they just kind of sat in my tackle box for years. And I had a couple favorite colors. I always loved a natural bullfrog one.
Yep.
I always loved a, what do they call it? There was like a holographic finish one, a hollow shad or G-Flex shad, whatever the fuck they call it. And a fire tiger. And I would
Gotta have fire tiger.
And bone. So I would throw those constantly. And I love, that's what probably hooked me on fishing, was the blow-ups between those and topwater floating Rapalas.
Yep.
And they, like I said, they just kind of fell out of my arsenal for a little while. And then last year, they came back in a huge way with river smallmouth. And instead of using the puppies, I use the Zara Spook Junior, which is kind of like the in-between size of those two sizes. And they have a size even smaller than the puppy, but
yeah,
I started throwing the Zara Spook Juniors, and at the EKF tournament in particular in the Connecticut River, the first fish I hooked into was a 20-inch smallmouth, and I got it to the boat and couldn't get it in the net. Took off.
Is the Spook Junior the same thickness, the same girth around as the traditional, and it's just shorter?
Yes.
Okay.
Or it's close to the same girth, I believe.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's just shorter. And they make 5 sizes now, because they have that giant mag spook with 3 treble hooks on it.
Oh yeah.
So there's the big spook, the original, the junior, the puppy, and then the whatever the hell it's called, the teeny tiny puppy or whatever. Yeah. So I've used walkers besides that, and I don't think any are as good, to be quite honest. I've used there was a Yozuri one that came out years and years ago. I used that. I never thought it was that good. What other ones have I used?
There's one from Arc that I like.
Yeah.
But it's one of these ones that I picked up just to throw. It's got a funkier sort of shape to the body. It's not one size all the way through. It kind of tapers down at the nose. It's got a heftier back end. And the main reason why I like that is for really long casts, it's nice,
Yeah.
But I can remember when, you first told, because I had, when I first started kind of breaking down different types of baits and things, a walking bait was really never anything that was on my radar. It was just okay, so I would probably just throw a frog if I'm going to walk it. It's one less bait that I have to throw, or one less bait that I have to have on me. I can walk a frog, great. Why wouldn't I just do that? And then I can throw it in all the pads and everything else. Nope, it's not an equal line straight across like that. They do 2 different things. And the nice thing is I can remember when you were telling me about Zara Spook specifically, and I forget what lake we were at, but we're at a local pond and we were fishing. And you're like, yeah, try this, see what you can do. And you were amazed at how I was able to just kind of dial it in and just bing, 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 right back. And they're fun to fish.
Yep.
They really are. They're super fun to fish. They're great for covering water. If you,
especially shallow water.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. If you got a big flat, That's a really great bait to go and like pop yourself in a spot and then just fan cast, you know, and see what you can pick up that way. It's a great way to do it. It's fun. It's really active. It's not just chuck and wind, you know, so you've definitely got that going for you. But there's also versatility in it too. Like I can remember when I first started throwing them, it was all about, it's all about the chase. So you don't want it to stop, you know? You just want that fish to just lock in and chase it and go for it. As I've played around with it, I think that there's room to fuck around and find out, if you will, you know?
Stop and go is one of my favorite techniques.
Yeah.
As soon as I see a fish making a beeline for it, I will stop it dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then wait about 5-6 seconds, maybe more, depending on how big I think the fish is.
Yeah.
And then I'll go right after that, and usually they'll smash it on the first move.
Yeah. It's that reaction, that twitch. Same thing as like with a suspending jerkbait. You get it to sit in that one area, and then you take off like that, and they can't help themselves.
Yep.
You know, it does. It's kind of the same thing. So yeah, I'm all in for Zara Spook specifically. And I think like for me, I don't like if I'm buying more walking baits, I'm leaning toward a Zara Spook. I'm probably not buying another walking topwater. Unless it's just something that I want to fool around with and kind of experiment with or something. But like, I know that these are less is more, you know, I think.
And I honestly, if I was doing the same things with them back in the day that I'm doing now, my God, I would have caught a shit ton more of them. I would have caught a shit ton more fish because I was using mono.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But really, I mean, throwing them with topwater on a topwater like frog rod was amazing. And I know, you know, it's just getting that just loosening up the drag a little bit is a difference, but I was able to haul those fish in over long distances now. And I think I probably would have done a lot better had I known back in the day.
Oh
but yeah. I will continue to bring those back in as much as I can, especially for smallmouth. Those smallmouth were wonderful.
I find that for me, throwing a walking bait, you know, I mean, and it's the same thing, like most even poppers, like that jerkbait rod that I use, I'm crazy about it. I love it. That 610 jerkbait rod, I will use that. And what I do is I just swap out the reel, and I throw mine with mono, just force a habit, and also the flexibility, because if I need to throw that with something else, I'll go for it. But yeah, I've thrown, you know, when I didn't have that combo with me, I cut off my frog and I throw it on my frog rod. You know, it's a little bit more daunting to work a walking bait with a 7'11". But
well, see, I don't think it's that bad because it's just so, as long as the rod's stiff, it's just so everything's so responsive. Versus, you got to remember, try throwing it with a 6'6" medium, and it's just like it's throwing it with a pool noodle. I learned, that's the way I learned and did it for years. God knows what kind of damage I did to my wrist.
Oh, for sure, man. For sure. This next one, I don't have, I mean, the category is scented plastics. I have tons of experience with scented plastics, but not jelly worms. And I believe jelly worms were like one of the original soft plastic worms.
Yep, introduced in 1967. The old article goes on for here, and I mean, I haven't. I know I've used them in the past. Again, probably dicking around when I didn't know what I was doing with plastics back in the day in the 90s, early 2000s.
Yep,
and really, not the jelly worm. And let me make sure I don't have this in here because I don't want to screw it up. If we have it, that we're going to cover it later. But I've used something similar, and I am not seeing it. Yep, I'm not seeing it. So I've used something similar. The Zoom trick worms.
Oh yeah,
really is probably the closest thing to that, and I've had plenty of success with those. It's a do nothing worm with a spade tail is what this man's jelly worm is. Like I said, I've had packs of these in the past. Haven't done well with them, but you know, I don't know. Most plastics are scented these days or salt covered. I don't know why they put scented plastics. Again, this article's a little eclectic.
It is, yeah. Some of the categories are sort of interesting, but I would agree with you. I would think that throwing a like a Z-Man trick worm would be right on that same sort of level, like just a straight up rubber worm with straight tail worm, anything like that. You know, this I would throw. Looking at this picture, I would throw this on a shaky head all day. You know,
exactly.
Shaky head, I would drop shot it. You know,
shaky head. I'd actually Texas rig it. Those are big worms. Those man's jelly worms.
Oh, really?
There's. I think they start at 7 inches.
Oh, really? I didn't realize they were that big.
I don't know if they have a 5. Does it say in the article?
The shape, large sizes, and translucent colors had lasting impacts on soft plastics and really help push soft plastics into the forefront. It doesn't really say what they are. Although, actually, you know what? Let's check out the buy at Tackle Warehouse. Let's see what we got for options here.
Let's see if this is the portion of the show where I am talking directly out of my ass.
Oh, my God. Okay, so they have a 6, a 9-inch, and a 12-inch.
Yeah, so it's big. Yeah, so I don't remember them ever having any small ones.
Yeah.
So good. I was not talking out of my ass.
You were not. You were not ass talking. But
matter of fact, you know what's funny?
What's that?
Just because we're on this, I clicked on the link as well, and it says more from Man's soft baits. There was one that I used right underneath it. Can you see that Man's auger tail worm?
Oh yeah,
I use those. You
use those really?
Yeah.
Huh. It's a unique. That's a unique shape too, and I guess really that's kind of what you want. You want to take this next one?
Sure. Let me go back to where I was. Oh my God! All right.
This is one I have a lot of experience with.
I had to go back to the goddamn article thing. Hold on. Oh my God. Man's plastic. All right. Beaver bait.
Beavers.
Reaction Innovations Sweet Beaver. I actually have a little bit of fucking experience with this guy too. So the Sweet Beaver, we all know what beaver baits look like. They're basically one giant paddle tail that you can split in half if you'd like. Some of them have 2, some of them have 4 tails.
Yep.
And
not a lot of action in those tails.
No, it's definitely well, depends. It's on the particular on the Sweet Beavers.
Yeah. With
just the single paddle tail that can be split. No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
When you get into stuff like the Berkeley God damn it. What's the Berkeley one I always use? Pit Boss.
Oh yeah.
That's technically a beaver bait.
Yep.
It's got the 2 things, but it also has 2 big flappers on the side, so that one does have quite a bit of action.
Yeah.
That's where most of my experience is with those. But Sweet Beavers, if you're flipping, you're throwing shit around, you want to use it as a jig trailer. I've been there. I've done that. I fished in Oklahoma. I know how shit rolls.
Yep.
And now they're even coming out with a lot of Ned-sized ones of these little guys.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. The that same bait as a Ned-sized bait is called a Smalley Beaver, and I throw that constantly. I have them in a couple of colors that I really, really love. I have one. It's like a split color, like a green pumpkin black fleck with a chartreuse bottom, and then I have one that's like watermelon red. And
of course,
I love the rigging. I specifically with the Sweet Beaver. What I like about it is how it's got that sort of. It's almost like 2 tubes of plastic. It's got that little divot in the middle. So if you're rigging on an EWG hook, like it's a really, really great weedless application. I've thrown them on punch rigs and stuff too. And I mean, there's enough plastic there. What's nice is you can actually let that, because of it comes in and like these 2 rolls kind of come right in. You can leave just a little bit of that flipping hook exposed, but because it doesn't stick out past the actual top of the bait, it doesn't get hung up nearly as much as you would expect that it would. But what's nice is there's no plastic like blocking it straight through. You get that subtle bite. It's going to get into that fish. So it's a pretty great bait. I can't say enough. I think Reaction Innovations, I also like their packaging. I feel like it brings me back to like the late 80s, early 90s, like, and Justice for All Metallica years. Something about it.
Yeah. And Reaction Innovations is just generally disgusting with both their colors and product names. So I love them. Yeah, they're right up our alley.
They definitely are. Definitely are. I think it's a great bait. There's a little section here, and this is exactly what I was talking about. The Reaction Innovation Sweet Beaver features a ribbed body with a creased midsection, flapping appendages, and a spade tail that can be split. Mimics baitfish, bluegill, and crawfish all in one when flipped and punched through heavy cover and hopped around matted vegetation and thick willow bushes alike. Yeah. It's solid, man. I love it. I do. I love almost any kind of creature bait, but beaver baits, Nice and streamlined and pretty awesome. Oh, here we go. So this, I think, is even more in line with what we were talking about, like with the trick worm and stuff. It was their drop shot worm. They listed it as a drop shot worm, and they put the robo worm straight worm on here. Home run. I've got some robo worms. I love them. Great color, a million colors. Like choose whatever you like. That bubblegum pink and the methylate colors are really, really great. Let's see. The pink color that they created called Morning Dawn turned out to be as popular as the robo worm was itself. The color had gone to be arguably the best fish catching color of all time on a drop shot, and it has spawned a whole drop shot niche thanks to the ease of use and large volume of fish you can catch with the worm. I'll be perfectly honest. If there's somebody out there that's like, they're like, I hear so much about the drop shot, but it's boring. I don't want to, it's like you do nothing with it. I feel like if you're drop shotting with a worm, there's a lot you can do with it, but it's subtle. It's so subtle. Yep. And having a bait that's 5 to 7 inches long and has that nice taper the way it does, it doesn't take a whole lot to make it happen. Now, like the Z-Man stuff, I think is great because it's buoyant and it floats, so like it's even more subtle. But with like a robo worm, there's video that you can look up. I think it's Fish the Moment does one of these, like a drop shot plastic, different ones. And a small, like an 1/8 ounce weight on with a robo worm, and you can see this thing's just got some crazy action, and it looks out of this world in clear water. You'll get bit, 100%. Yeah. You'll get bit on them.
I even have a couple of packs of these with my my starting to really adapt drop shotting techniques. They have a rep for a reason. These robo worms are awesome.
Unbelievable, man.
That's all I got.
I love it.
Give me another year of fucking around with them, and I'll find out.
Oh yeah, you'll find out. I'm telling you, man, they're freaking out of this world. See, this makes life so much easier. I just put this list right in this browser. I don't have to keep going back to my.
You are the smartest raccoon we know.
I try. So is this?
I'll do the last one if you want.
Go for it. Yeah.
All right, now. I don't know who didn't have one of these back in the 90s and no one caught fish on them. Like, I don't know anybody that did well with these things up where we live. Mm-hmm. The hollow frog, the example given is a snag-proof frog. That is definitely the original. I cannot remember one. They had the brown ones and they had the green ones, and I don't remember they have maybe they had white as well back in the day, and that was it. But this one is the one that spawned all, insert your favorite frog here. I personally... I use the oh goddamn, which ones do I use? I use Booyah pad
crashers. Yeah,
that's both the popping and the regular. I use both in a couple colors, which is noted in this article of, hey, look at all the shit that can be.
Oh yeah,
that was spawned off this. But this was the original. I always remember laughing at these snag proof things back in the day. Everyone would have one or two. No one caught shit on them that I knew. Again, we were teenagers and not really. Probably fishing them right.
That I think comes into a part of it because you're talking in the 90s. This is probably in that same era where you were using like a 6'6" medium spinning combo.
Yeah, and I don't even remember seeing braided line until after 2000 at least. It just wasn't a thing.
Yeah,
we weren't using it. If it was in Bass Pro Shops, nobody bought the shit. Like, why would you buy braid? It's just going to break your rod. I want to say it was at least 2000 when braids first started popping up, and then it snapped a few rods around me. I'm like, I'm never using this shit. Now I learned braid does have its applications.
Yeah,
but, this is the one that spawned it all. I'm sure that, there's variations of it. They have ones with skirts now, and I don't know if they have the double legged ones, like double leg skirt things. But hey, it is the original. Credit where credit's due, but I'll stick with my pad crashers. That's where I've had my most success.
Yeah, I feel like, frogs are one of those things where for the vast majority of them, I really do feel like a frog is a frog because there's so much for customization that happens with frogs. Trimming legs, adjusting hooks, but some people boil their frogs to get them so that they're softer, There's a lot that goes into frogs that make them really, really custom. And a lot of it, I think, depends on what you're doing. I feel like it's almost like that with jigs, too, in a lot of ways. But I will tell you, I think for me, one of the body shapes, I think that is probably the most unique. And I got to get my hands on one of them eventually, because I only throw a frog when I have to throw a frog. I know I have friends that are just like, yeah, I'm throwing a topwater frog because I want to throw a topwater frog. And that's fine. But, like, unless I'm fishing, real heavy vegetation on the cover and I can't get by with a buzz toad or something along those lines, that's when I'll throw a topwater frog. But I think the scum frogs are among some of the most innovative. They have a really, really unique body shape. I think, though, with you, man, those pad crashers and the the Teckle frog, the Teckle sprinkler frog.
Yeah,
that's another one that's freaking awesome.
When it comes down to it, I use 3 frogs. I use those Teckle sprinkler frogs.
Yep.
I use pad crashers.
Yep.
Those are the 2 hollow bodies. And then I keep horny toads around because I know what kind of damage they can do.
Yeah, exactly.
So those are my 3 quote unquote frog replicants. But the Zoom horny toad really is a plastic worm. Dragging across the surface. The other 2 are hollow.
The other 2 are hollow body frogs. There is one on this list that I want to check out at one point or another, is that Strike King Poppin' Perch.
Yeah, so that you know what?
I've seen those a bunch. Never used them.
I think I've told you I've come across them at that discount store where I was finding those Lucky Strikes.
Oh, really? Well,
which we still have to make a trip to.
You know what? And actually, this week you and I should make a trip. We have a trip that we should make there, and then another trip to another retailer that we should go and have some conversations with.
I would love to.
Yep.
But I'm 45 years old.
Well, so am I.
And I have 2 days that are devoted to a certain procedure that has to be done at 45 years old. So no,
you're a better man than I.
I'm not doing anything this week. My Tuesday and Wednesday are shot.
maybe next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about next week.
Maybe next week.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
but all right. That's that. There's another 5.
Yeah.
Well, we got two more stops on this little trip, and we'll have gone through this whole list.
It's been pretty good. This has been a lot of fun, kind of going through and taking each bait in different categories, and Wired to Fish does a great job of separating these and making them kind of easy to talk about. So I like it, and I like the fact that they're not lumping everything in one specific category. We haven't gone over a million different types of jigs. It's been, a mix of hard baits, soft plastics, and wire baits, and jigs, and everything all together. So here's what we're going to do, guys. We are going to, we're actually going to get to Jon and Tony right now, actually. And then after their interview, we're going to go to a break and come back and wrap up with our Geekin' with Galekis section of the fine podcast for you. So we're going to take and throw this over to that interview segment right now. Alrighty, guys, Bobby Roast Beef back with you. Another interview. We got one that's way over. I say this every single week. It's way overdue. But we've been talking with these guys since about a little around this time last year. And we discovered them through, who the fuck is that guy? Joe Brown. Whoever the fuck Joe Brown is, that we initially discovered these guys through him and Old Glory Outdoors, and of course they're no stranger to the world of Dude by Nate Shagnon. So he's a good close friend of the show. It's been a stretch since we've been able to get these guys on here. We got our 2 homies from Fresh Baits. We got Anthony Romeo. We've got John Field with us. Guys, how we doing? How's things?
What up? Good, man. Bobby, thank you so much for having us, dude.
I'm glad to have you guys on. You guys have been making, I think the technical term for this is a veritable shit ton of buzz in unique presentations and quite literally showing them something different. Let's go ahead and start at the beginning of it all. I'm a sucker for an origin story. I'd like to know about the 2 of you as anglers, how you kind of were introduced to the outdoors and kind of guide us through the journey that you got to where you are today as anglers, but also how you got into business with one another. Like, how did that union kind of come together where you guys started making really, let's be honest, especially when you're looking at just in this region, but in the market, like some really, really innovative baits.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you very much for the intro. Tony, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a simple, I grew up fishing, ended up meeting Jon, connected on that level, and sort of just went fishing together, and just always went fishing together after that, in kind of a fun way, and sort of evolved into just hey, let's film this, let's fish, let's try different species, let's go here, let's do this, sort of in a real like just homey fun way. Growing up, hitting the John boat, where ponds, rivers, and just started out having a lot of fun just fishing as two friends.
That's awesome. I think that's kind of where it's always got to start in the beginning, is just like having a good time and enjoying it. Because if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to stick with it, Absolutely. It's huge.
Absolutely. Tony and I started Get Bent TV probably like 5 or 6 years ago now. And that kind of really kicked off our fishing relationship with each other. And from Get Bent, Get Bent kind of opened up a lot of doors for us as far as fishing trips. And, we got hooked up with a bunch of guides, nationally, across the country. And we got to go on a lot of trips, and, we kind of filmed the trips, and we would make videos for the guides. And that kind of opened us up to a bunch of different fishing experiences and, types of fishing we would never normally do, we were just, around here. And then it's kind of snowballed, and just kept making the videos, and then decided, how do we take this to the next level? What can we do? And, we saw a lot of the baits coming out, and everything was kind of the same. And we should maybe start making some baits. And, we've always prided ourselves on having, some original creations.
Yeah. Oh, and I think I think original creations is dead on exactly the greatest way you could explain it, but it almost kind of undersells it, because let's be honest, for those listeners that are listening to this right now that have heard the term fresh baits, probably the first thing that they think of is your scorpion. Probably the first thing that they're thinking of. And that is a truly unique plastic that's out there. I mean, it's just the fact that you guys have it set with a very specific jig that you direct people to buy, or you include them now, right? Is that what you're doing?
That is, you can. Yes, we do all. You can buy each of them separately, or you can buy it in a package
in a kit. Well, and I think that is money. Like, talk about a signature sort of way. The one bait that I fell in love with last year, and it's a mainstay in my bag, whether I'm on the kayak or whether I'm on the banks or if I'm on someone else's boat, I've got at least 3 or 4 colors of Helemite with me. 100%. That is my go-to. I love that plastic. I mean, it's kind of replaced the TRD.
Woo!
For me, I haven't bought a TRD in a while, just simply because I feel like, the leg appendages on the Helemite are one thing, but that tail appendage, the way it tapers down to like a thread of a tail, is amazing. Drop shots, definitely Ned rigs. I mean, it's great all around. It is. I love it. And I'll go on record saying I absolutely love it. Sean the Fisherman introduced me to it, and I said, holy shit, this is the one. I think this is one. And for me, it's taken over that little TRD profile where I'm just going to go and I'm going to throw that, If I need more action, I'll go with a curly tail grub or something. But, when I'm looking for a subtle action, bam, that's the one. That is the one.
Tony was kind of the mastermind behind the Helemite design and everything, and he really pushed the limits on that to get it where it is.
There's something about that one tiny tail off to the side. I've had all the arms ripped off. Like, they just get hammered, and they're great. I mean, you guys have innovative colors. Like, everything that you're doing is fantastic, and I think that anybody needs to at least grab a couple of colors of some of your unique styles of baits and try them out for themselves, because it's worth it, folks. Let's talk into. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Get Bent TV. What was the initial what was it like getting started early on and kind of grow? Because it's funny because Jigs and Bigs, that's sort of my focus is like you had mentioned the guides and traveling and getting out there. That's kind of what I'm trying to start doing is kind of put myself all over the place because I'm not a competitive angler. I've got zero interest in competition. It's great for everybody else, but it's just not necessarily for me. What was it like for you guys getting started?
It was kind of worked out pretty nice. I was in between careers, I guess, at the time. I went back to film school for a little bit.
Yep.
I had met Tony. Tony owned a protein and supplement bar at the time. And we would just sit there and I would work out and go talk to him afterwards. And turned out he was a huge fisherman. Tony's taught me so much about fishing. I kind of bring the camera aspect to it. But we just started talking. We were like, hey, we should go out and just, make some content and start filming. And we kind of came in right as that YouTube boom, and it all just kind of worked out,
That's awesome.
It was a great partnership. Tony brought the fishing knowledge to it. Yep. I was able to bring some of the film knowledge to it. And it was a great, it was just a really, really good partnership.
Now you guys are, you're New England natives. Are you in Mass or New Hampshire?
Massachusetts.
You're in Mass. All right. What's your hot take right now on the weather conditions we're dealing with as far as how's it impacting your fishing?
Well, it's funny you say that, Bob, because it's impacted my fishing where I haven't been fishing in probably like a month or so.
It sucks, doesn't it?
Just because it's just the amount of time you got to put in, and God bless everybody still out there. I know Nate Shagman, the Frenchman, is still going.
Yeah.
Every weekend they're doing their own tournaments and stuff. But right now we're kind of waiting for the ice right now, to be honest with you.
It's insane. It is. This is the worst kind of like scenario you can have if you live in this area where you've got winter just enough to keep you from being able to drop the kayak anywhere you want. But at the same time, you're gambling if you get out on whatever ice is out there, because most of it near us is just skim ice. It comes off and goes back on like within 48 hours. It's ridiculous. Let's get into Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, there's still a lot of guys still out there.
Yeah.
We have a lot of friends still going. 603 Bass. Boy Johnny Bass. They're still out there putting the hours in. So God bless them.
That's
they're still getting them. So
definitely. Let's talk as far as baits. You guys make baits, but what do each of you kind of gravitate toward like a short list of confidence baits? Like what type of anglers are you guys?
Tony, you want to go first?
Well, I think everybody, when you first started fishing, what did you use, right? Spinnerbait, crankbait, topwater, those are all dynamic fishing sort of styles.
Oh yeah.
But nowadays, you're bank fishing or from a canoe or a john boat that evolves into a bigger boat, bigger water. So your sort of techniques and then have to adapt to that too. So in terms of confidence bait, obviously, the design of the Helemite was to be an all-around, nationwide, not just for bass, drop shot, Ned, Nico, right? Walleye, pike.
Oh yeah.
Straight across the board, big trout in PA. I mean, we got pictures again on trout. So in terms of confidence bait, I'm a big drop shot guy.
Yep.
I really go to that in terms of when things get a little sticky, but there's obviously when you get into the art of fishing and the sport, banging the shore with a spinnerbait and just having that get smashed or even topwater, you can't beat that, right? It's all situational, but I think hands down, the Helemite goes to the number one spot. And I'd say we're excited to, obviously have the other designs. We brought in a craw trailer.
Yep.
We got some other ones, so you can't go wrong with the craw in terms of that.
I agree. Yeah. I think a crawl trailer is one of the most versatile plastics. Tweak it a little bit here and there. We just were this a couple episodes ago. We did sort of our own hot take on Wired to Fish's top 25 best baits. They kind of broke it down by category and then picked one. And there was a crawl. I forget what it was. Something LaRue. I forget the name. But we had gone through the whole list and I even said in there, I was just like, a craw, you can use it in so many ways. It's so versatile, whether you're throwing it on a moving bait, swim jig, a flipping jig or something, or you're really kind of finessing it and using some of the smaller plastics or just cutting a larger one down and using it on a net or something. There's so much that can be done with it. How about you, John? Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, you think about the origin of the craw. What was the first craw design? It was the chunk bait, right?
Oh, yeah.
Two sides. So it's always been there in terms of it being an effective fishing bait.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's been chunk baits. It's so funny. So many people just overlook the importance of needing something that's just going to be dead in the water, but have that profile, What about you, John? What's your short list like? Like, what are your primary confidence baits that you go to?
I've kind of talked about it before sometimes. I love throwing a crankbait.
Yep.
I just it's whenever we get to a new spot in the lake or whenever we go out fishing, that's the first thing I'm going to throw. Yeah. Kind of a search bait.
For sure.
I just love getting whacked on the crank. Specifically this Booyah like chartreuse crankbait just does really well for me up here in the clear water.
Yep.
I've talked about that before in a few other videos. But then if it comes to more of a finesse presentation, definitely the Helamite on like a Ned or a drop shot for sure. Love drop shot fishing. I think if you can get right over the fish, either in a kayak or a boat, a drop shot presentation, just nothing really beats it.
It's deadly, almost all the time. Deadly. Yeah, almost any condition, it's deadly. Yeah,
right.
Let's get into, as far as fresh baits goes, like where are you guys? What's the short plan? Like the next 5 years or so, what are you guys looking at doing? What do you hope to accomplish? World domination, obviously, is one of those.
It's coming.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. It's on the way. I think we're just going to keep trying to come up with some new baits, keep the designs, original and, fun and different.
Yep. Yeah,
and
I think they need to be.
Keep trying to crank them out.
Nice. That's awesome. Where are, I know you guys do a lot of sales like on your website and stuff, but where, if folks are listening right now, where are the retailers where, you've got a lot of baits in stock, the best place to get a hold of them?
Right on our site, www.freshbaits.com.
Direct from the source.
That's it. Right there.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
And sort of your question earlier in terms of what's the game? I don't know, John. We were sort of going to wait on this, but we're excited to announce at the Box Pro Show we're going to be introducing a new 6-inch lizard to the lineup.
Oh,
so just kind of bringing into the fundamental into things. So we have the unique baits, but then also now we have we didn't really announce it, but we also have a 6-inch Senko on our site. Mm-hmm. So we have the 5-inch Senko, the 6-inch Senko. At the Box Pro Show, which is the end of January, we'll introduce Lizard. February 1st, Lizard goes live on the site. So that's awesome. Exciting in the near future. And then we got some other stuff up our sleeves. So we're excited about that.
That's awesome because now it gives folks the opportunity to say, oh, I'm going to try out, fresh baits, but these are really kind of unique style plastics that, for my conventional fishing, I don't know if they're necessarily going to cut the mustard. Side note is they do. But on top of that, it allows that sort of introduction of like, I'm looking for a simple stick bait. I'm looking for, a lizard or a salamander is like killer. I know one guy specifically, good friend of the show. You guys might know him on Instagram, Finn.horn. Nelson is, he's the lizard king. He just is. That's his thing. He's going to be psyched about that.
King.
Yeah.
Lizard King. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great, John, we haven't named it yet. Maybe that's.
Ooh.
Right. Good.
Shit. Somebody write that down. Oh, I got it.
Oh, it's recorded here. Everybody will hear it. So it's good. That's excellent. The check is in the mail, boys.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Let's get into some of the more like oddball kind of questions now. You guys have traveled to go out and fish before. Is there anything like any bodies of water, I would say outside of New England, that you feel are like maybe one of your favorites?
I don't know. We had a blast down in Florida. We fished a couple times last winter down in Florida.
Yep.
We fished Kenansville. That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Headwaters is a great time. It's a great time to just get out there and explore. That's like a fisherman's playground down there.
Oh yeah.
I know it gets pressured pretty heavily, but great time out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Stick Marsh is right there.
Stick Marsh too. Yeah, there you go, Stick Marsh.
I mean, Florida per capita, I think is hands down just, if it's not working on one lake, you can load the boat and head over to another one.
Yep.
And it produce, the same type of trophy bass. So I think that's sort of the value or the advantage that you get there that you don't get necessarily up in New England or, other areas. Just the accessibility to those like trophy lakes,
Definitely.
And to be, you know what, if we're talking species too, we got to fish in Miami last fall with Scott Rose.
Mm-hmm.
And went peacock bass fishing.
Oh my God.
One of the funnest trips I've ever been on.
Really?
Such a fun. If you haven't got a chance to fish for peacocks, I would highly recommend it. So much fun.
That's awesome. It's one of those. I think peacocks are probably the one species that almost everybody just says every single time, oh, this is, they're on my bucket list. Like I want to catch a peacock someday. And it's funny too, like Florida, I'm working on this year trying to branch out and do as much as I can as far as travel. And, I've said like next winter, I'm thinking Texas, Louisiana, something like that. But Florida is always sort of in the back pocket. It's just like it's a home run all the time. It's just a matter of linking up with people because I'm trying to like network, go and travel to an area, fish, create some content, record a show, and then take that back and incorporate it into one specific episode or something, and just kind of like just grow it, and get all this amazing experience. So, yeah, Florida is definitely one of those where I think it's just a trump card. You go to Florida. Yeah. You have the opportunity is there to catch absolute monsters,
all year round.
Yeah, all year round. That's the beauty of it.
Spoiled down there. Yeah, right.
As far as like the fishing industry goes, do you guys have any like pet peeves or anything? Something that you're just like, man, I can't stand this about this little niche that we're in.
That's a unique question.
It is a unique question. Yeah.
People can be very, fishermen like what they like. And if you're not doing something that they like, they're definitely gonna let you know.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's one of the great things about fishing is it's not just one way to do something. It's not just one way to fish, it's whatever works for you.
Yeah.
But I guess people can be a little stubborn sometimes, but I guess that's just with any industry, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I mean, you get folks that have this idea in their mind and it's like almost unswayable, something as simple as just making a little tweak or a change or, and there's a lot of opinions. Anglers are some of the most opinionated people out there.
Right. And everybody's a pro and everybody will tell you that's stupid. You're not doing that the right way.
Exactly.
Which is fine.
It's all good. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's right. It's all good.
Just kind of keep it. I think sometimes anglers get a little too serious. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that comes with the pressure of trying to produce or trying to put right. And you have to go back to what made you love fishing.
Yep.
And let's be honest, right? Our uncle gave us a bag of random soft plastics or some no one just handed us new stuff in a package. Like we used old stuff our grandfather had that he threw. It's like, keep it light, keep it fun. I think bring it back to in terms of just the origin of fun. And that sort of like, learning to swap out the trebles or into, with a feathered treble or try a different technique from Texas to Carolina, and just playing with different things and learning, like that's cool,
Exactly.
How many times you throw a bait over a limb, just dip it on the water and a fish comes out and smashes it.
Yeah. It
you
happens.
Know what I mean? Like,
just,
just bring it back and just not so serious. So I think that's sort of, keep it light.
I definitely can see that, especially, I didn't even think about the content creation element of it. I mean, that makes sense. Like, especially if you're at the point where, it's your livelihood, and you're just like, we got to get on some fish. I need to make a video here. I see the seriousness, and I agree with it. Like when there's money on the line, and you're a tournament angler, and you're like, I literally paid to fish today. You know what I mean? Yeah. I paid decent money to be in this, so I cut them a little bit of slack. But most content creators are not getting paid. And their livelihood does not depend on it. And you gotta just keep it fun. I think that's great advice, Tony.
Well, let's be honest, right? The most paid content creators are the ones fishing with little 9-year-old poles, right? So it's like, you think about the concept, right? Who's monetizing all of this stuff? And it's really the guy who's keeping it light. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
have fun with it. Yeah.
Hot dog or a gummy worm or whatever. You know, it's
like definitely. A total
fun thing, and those are the guys that are really sort of taking advantage of the system and not like really monetizing that end of it, because what people want to see, the general public, I feel like, you know.
And that's exactly it. There is such a big audience. A lot of folks think that, you know, when it comes to fishing content, that, you know, they're like, oh, this video came out and it's like us three that are watching that video. There's the potential reach that this has is infinitely larger of people who are not connected to this community whatsoever. So making it accessible and searchable and something somebody wants to fishing with Becca, and the entire trip, and in fact weeks leading up to it, once we kind of got a beat on what the weather was going to be like, which was 30 to 40 mile an hour winds and torrential rain, she was like, I can't wait for this. It's going to make the best video. It's going to make the best video. And it's because of that, like the adversity of dealing with the elements and everything else. Like crazy shit happened there too. She crashed her drone. She was just like, this is great for the video. People love it when I fuck up. And it's like, because it's relatable. I do that shit all the time.
Relatable, yeah.
You know, and it's like, and she's super genuine and super authentic with what she does. So all of this stuff just kind of, she's like, just capitalizing on the fact that, yeah, it's cold, it's rainy, there's wind blowing like a tropical storm. It was ridiculous. And it works, you know. In fact, that episode of our show is seen like a 20% kick up from listeners. And we've had her on the show 3 other times. You know, I mean, she's been on multiple times, but like that, like people know that it was a shit show. So they're like, I want the details. So they listen. It's great.
And that's the real stuff. You know, that's what really happens on trips. And that's what, like you said, it's very relatable. You know? And that's just, you know, so that's what a real fishing trip is generally like. You're dealing with the elements and everything like that. So
I do a question with every guest. It's a 2-parter question. We'll end it today. You guys are going to answer that question too. And I ask it when I first started the show, I came up with a short list of questions that I just keep like a loose skeleton of, and I pick things as I decide I just want to talk about them. This is the one question that's been on every single episode. And it's got to do with fucking up, you know, and like, because it's one of those things where if I have a pro angler in the beef seat having a conversation with me, or I've got, you know, my favorite is like when I've got a listener and they say the same thing. They're like, I'm nobody. I just like your show, whatever. I'm like, no. This show's about anglers. Whatever element that you're in, we can all relate, you know, and it's, I think there's something really, and that's one of my favorite things about the fishing community is the community itself, like the fellowship and everything. This past summer, we did a few trips and we went out, and I'll tell you, like some of the, like, in fact, the 2 trips I'm thinking of for myself, the fishing was hot garbage. I caught a couple of fish, but it was nothing to write home about. In fact, like one of these sends was the first time I ever put my kayak in the ocean. And that was fucking scary as shit, man. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I was like, there were some moments where I was just holding onto my seat, just saying a prayer. Like some of these,
it's a whole other world.
Some of these boats,
How much do you weigh and how tall are you? Because that's an impressive feat. First off,
I go over 300 pounds, and I am 5'7.5". So luckily, I'm not any taller, because that would be even worse. But I'm sitting in this boat, and I'm like, thank goodness. Like my boat's a Titan, not a Slayer. What am I talking about? A native Titan, 13.5. It's the hull is 41 inches wide. Like interior space. I need a ramp in order to take my kayak out for the day. If I were any other boat, I would have died. Yeah. I would have been in that water. It would have been bad. But so, the fishing on that trip and the trip we took to Crumpton, Maryland, I caught a couple of bass. I caught a couple of multi-species down there. It was a ton of fun. The best time, though, was sitting around the table, having some beers, just bullshitting. We recorded a segment each time. It was just like the camaraderie that you get with all that stuff. So this is the question. This is the question I've got for you guys. Each of you, if you could make like a top 3 wish list of folks, whether they're in the industry, whether they're just anglers that maybe from social media, who is it you would love to go and fish with?
Fishing with Louisa.
Fishing with Louisa. I know I've seen that name. Oh,
that's just a joke. That's a joke. But it's a good question. That's a good question.
Like we've had a million people say, I'd love to fish with my grandfather again,
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Or I'd love to fish with Bill Dance. Those are obvious, I kind of feel,
Right.
I'm always curious where people's heads are at, though.
Listen. John, what's the noodle girl? The noodle girl.
Noodle girl.
The catfish.
Oh, Hannah? Actually, Hannah's probably up there for me. Hannah might be number 1.
So I've fished in Texas. I've seen waters like that, murky, just thing like dinosaurs living in that water. I can't even. If I'm gonna die fishing, I might as well die with Hannah trying to stick my hand in a hole.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
I concur.
Okay?
I mean,
I feel like if I'm going to die in the reeds of this stained water, let's die together. Let's do it.
Getting pulled into a catfish hole.
I'm with you, dude. Hopefully we don't die. Hopefully we come out, but yeah.
Perhaps, one of us, but I think she definitely tops the list of one of the more unique fishing techniques that I'd never would do myself, nor would I even go swimming in that water.
Yeah.
But if I was to do, I think that would be the one I'd do it with.
That's the way to do it. That's pretty bad.
Shout out to anybody who gets into noodling in the first place. That is just unbelievable. Like the risk and the reward there just don't seem very, I don't know. But that looks like Tony was saying, in some of that water, they got rattlesnakes and all kinds of stuff. And
you can't see anything down there. You're literally playing Russian roulette. That is not for me. I remember I saw a video a while ago. I don't know if you guys are familiar with. There's a TV chef. His name's Matty Matheson, and this guy is an animal, an absolute animal. And there was a video that he did. I forget, with another. Like somebody from like Bon Appetit or something like that. They went down south and they went noodling and they did this big catfish fry and everything. And they get this guy in the water and he's like, he's loud and he's just absolutely ridiculous. And that is not the kind of fishing I would find enjoyable whatsoever. It's not for me. But you can't see anything and you're just reaching down in there on faith. Number one, that there's a fish in there. Yeah, it could be anything in that hole. Yeah. Oh,
you don't know.
Raptor. There's definitely raptors in those holes.
Could be. There was a story recently. Don't know.
Story
recently about a 15-year-old kid that lost a finger to a snapping turtle.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. His finger right
literally
off.
Boom.
Snap, yeah.
I believe
snap.
it.
Indeed.
Oh, snap.
Indeed.
Oh. Bobby, real quick, to go back to one of your other questions.
Yeah.
About the pet peeves in the industry. I guess not so much really a pet peeve, but I just want to, Tony and I are very lucky to have met a lot of good people in this industry were able to help, that have helped us, to navigate through it. But I just think we're both very lucky to have met so many good people to help us, get to where we're at. And, big shout out to Nate Chags, the Frenchman. Love that dude. He's really helped us, push fresh baits and really get us out there.
He is one of your biggest cheerleaders. Like he is he'll die on that mountaintop waving that fresh baits flag. He is that guy. He loves it. And Nate, he's another guy. He's just 100% genuine. You get what you get with Nate. And he's 100%. He's a great angler and he's a big supporter of what you guys are doing.
That's awesome.
Now, what about your short list, John? Like who would you like to go? Or are you guys in agreement that Hannah's the one?
Hannah was my idea.
All right.
Tony and Tony knows that. He just stole my idea. But it's you know what? It's tough. I wish I could like think about it for like half a day and then get back to you.
Oh, it's always one of those things where it's you never know. You're like, oh shit, that would have been good. And then I'm sure every guest has thought like, how did I not say so and so? Oh my god, I can't believe it. You know?
Right. Yeah. If you give me like 2 hours, I'll have the best answer ever.
Oh, for sure.
Like Bobby.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah.
I think if I had to go, my number 2 OG, if I can't go with Bill Dance, I'm gonna go with Al Linder. Okay?
Oh, Al Linder's the man.
OG, sort of, if you know, you know. And honestly, if I'm gonna go, I want to go walleye fishing.
Yeah.
And if I go walleye fishing, I might as well go with Al Linder.
Yeah.
So there, you know, I think Al Linder second role, and I think 3 for me would be Tactical Bass and Team. Man,
oh, those guys are awesome.
Awesome. We've met them.
Yeah.
They're actually super cool. They're super educational. They're smart. They know the deal. They're diverse in terms of all across the nation, fishing all types of water. I love to fish with those guys.
Those guys are the real deal. I have learned so much from those 2 dudes, from Tim and Matt. Like, I have learned so much from them. Just like, I want to learn how to do this, or I'm going to take a deep dive into X. And I go and I because they're extremely blunt about technique and gear and putting everything out there on a rating. It's really refreshing.
I actually have another idea as well for my special guest fishing partner.
Yeah.
I hope I'm saying his name correctly. It's Taro Murata. I think he's a Canadian.
Yeah.
He does like scuff baits. Just somebody we follow on Instagram. He's a huge personality.
That's awesome.
He seems like a lot of fun to fish with.
No, I love it, man. You guys ever get into Canada and fish?
Yes, we did a tuna fishing video on nice. Prince Edward Island.
Oh, very nice.
So
nice.
Yeah.
But is that Canada? Is that Canada?
Prince Edward Island? Yeah, that's Canada.
Yeah, we have to go. We have to cross. We have to like bring the passports and.
Is it Canada? I think it's
up on a tiny plane. Yeah, that's definitely, dude. They have Timmy Hortons up there. Like there's Canadian flag everywhere. Yeah. 100%.
Hang on. Now I got to Google it. I got to know.
I don't think it's Canada. I think it's a separate country that just happens to be neighbors with Canada. Now, listen, is it equally as cold as Canada? 100%.
Shout out to Timmy Hortons as the best
100%
breakfast sandwich and coffee joint in
Tim Hortons,
the country. Yeah. Tim Hortons. Oh, the best.
Timmy Ho!
A better place, Timmy Ho's.
So Prince Edward Island is one of Eastern Canada's maritime provinces off the New Brunswick and Nova Scotia in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. The large island, it's just a bunch of other stuff. So technically, it is a province. Okay. Look at that. Okay. Look at that shit. We learned something.
John moving. Geography for 200 for John.
Geography for 200. There we go. I'm trying to. There's one of our listeners, Adam Blomeke. I had in our interview. I suppose we made plans to go fish St. Lawrence together. So eventually, that's going to happen as well. But that's got to be one hell of a trip. Tuna fishing off of Prince Edward Island. That's freaking amazing.
I puked the whole time.
Oh God.
Except when we actually hooked up with like an 800-pound tuna.
Yep.
Like 15 minutes on our second day before we had to go back into the dock. Like it was literally, at the buzzer, we ended up hooking up with this tuna.
Yep.
Which was awesome. That was a great experience.
Yeah.
But as a fisherman, I do get extremely seasick every time we go out in open water, which is very unfortunate.
John's sitting there, literally. We're steaming out the first day, and he's smiling, and all of a sudden, probably 10 minutes into this ride,
just turns green.
Stays green all day. No fish, no tuna. Now, listen, we're in Prince Edward's Island, North Harbor, tuna capital of the world. Biggest tuna ever taken in the world was taken out of this harbor.
Oh, really?
They catch 2 or 3 tunas a day out of one boat, because that's where the herring go up and spawn. So the tuna go there, they just spool around. John turns green. Day 2, he's like, bro, I don't know if I can do this, right? He's green the whole day. The captain's like, man, we got to put a fish on the boat. 15 minutes in, 15 minutes left. He's like, you know what, let's throw out a kite bait.
Yep.
All of a sudden, the reel starts screaming. I look. I look at John, and he literally starts to degreen and literally get into like game mode, bro. Like
that's
I don't
awesome.
know where the green went, but as soon as the fish hit the deck, he went back to green and just went back and sat down.
Yeah,
that's good though.
It's terrible. It's terrible. You know, I think it is a big mental thing. I think it's all in my head, but I don't know what to do. All right, so we are in a legal state in Massachusetts. I will say THC has helped me a lot.
Oh, 100%.
With these seasickness for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a big help. I've also heard when I was a young kid, like the first time I ever had done like a deep sea trip or anything, I was just I heard all these stories like my dad and my uncles would talk about, oh, so and so is puking off the side of the boat the entire time and blah blah blah, and I just thought that was like part of it, you know. And I've had trips out on boats where I've been fine. I've had a couple where I have not been fine. And I remember one of my uncles telling me, he goes, as long as you're eating or drinking constantly, you're fine.
Really?
I'm like, really? So my wife, we're planning a trip this summer to go down to Myrtle Beach. We vacationed there like 5 years ago. We had a great time. We're gonna take the family back down there again. And I'm looking for a listener that's in that area just to link up with and do some bass fishing. And my wife says to me, she's like, why don't we take like a trip and do like, you know, like a deep sea trip while we're there? And I was just like, okay. I was like, how are you with boats? She's like, I don't know. She doesn't fly great.
Right.
And flying is one thing, but you get on a boat where you're just like a cork out there if it's, you know, slightly a rough day, and it can be a bit much. So I gave her that advice. I was like, that's the idea. We'll pack a cooler. You're just going to keep drinking and drinking and drinking. Back. We're not going to we're not even going to drive there. We're going to get an Uber back from the dock, and that's going to be it. And she's like, oh, I think it'll be all right. God, I'm praying she has a good experience, because I will never hear the end of it. Oh my God. It'll be
there's nothing worse, dude.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no other feeling than you're like, because you're like, I'm out here with all these people. Like, I feel like shit. All I can do is just sit here, you know? Oh yeah. It's a shitty feeling.
It's just, right. And pray for it to be over. But
what?
Ginger ale helps.
Ginger in general helps, absolutely. What is so you guys have done some traveling. You've kind of, you know, this show we don't fear talking about food, because if that's one thing every single angler can agree on, it's that they like to eat.
100%.
What is your favorite chicken joint? And when I say chicken joint, what I mean is a place where there's either a drive-through or you're buying it out of a gas station. What's your favorite one?
Interesting.
Popeyes. Gotta go Popeyes.
Absolutely, Tony. There we go. We just had Noelle Roth on, and she said Popeyes. And I was like, Noelle, I am thoroughly impressed. Very few folks say Popeyes. It's OG.
It's OG, but it's consistent, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's always like a 9 out of 10, consistent. Yep. Crispy's crispy, regular's regular, and the sandwich is fire.
Sandwich is on.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right. Dude, all right. So quick story. I just got back from Trinidad. I was down there for a wedding. And I will tell you this: at the end of the night, they brought out buckets of KFC.
Okay.
Down in Trinidad, and I was like, oh man, I didn't really come down here to eat fast food. You know, I wanted to eat some more native stuff. Like,
local stuff.
You have to try. Yeah, right. And they were like, no, you have to try the KFC. I was like, whatever. This was the best KFC I've ever had in my entire life, and possibly the best chicken I've ever had in my entire life.
No shit.
Because apparently they use different spices or something, and the skin was different. So if you're in Trinidad, you have to make sure you go to a KFC.
I have heard before that KFC in the continental U.S. and KFC anywhere else in the world is two totally separate animals. Like in Japan, like that's what they traditionally have for Christmas is KFC.
Really?
Yeah. It's like a thing. Oh, wow. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But there's all kinds of crazy, like, you know, traditions and things like in other parts of the country where they just kind of like make it their own. But yeah, I have heard that before, that it's like, if you're in another part of the world, KFC is great. KFC over here is like, food, yeah, I don't know. It's just wild, man.
Yeah. I got you.
It's freaking dynamite. Let's talk as far as I love this kind of this question here, and it's good we have two guests. So Sean and I like to ask this question all the time. Sean and I are in the white Jigs and Bigs, kidnapper van, and we're driving up to you guys, Metallica cranking out the windows, and we're going to grab you guys. You can take whatever you want for lures, baits, anything, your tackle box, fine. You can't bring any rods or reels. Instead, we're going to make a stop at your favorite tackle stop, all right? We're going to give you the Jigs and Bigs corporate card, and you guys can build a single combo, right? Rod, reel, line, whatever that combo is going to be, you can build a single combo to fish an unnamed body of water with conditions we're unsure about. What would you each build? And treat yourself. You guys can go brand specific if you want.
Where are we region-wise?
Right, we're in your local area.
Okay.
We're local to you. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to go first?
Go ahead, John.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go with what I'm comfortable with. What
I
I'm
think
most
that's the
familiar with.
Yep.
I guess first off, for the rod, I would have to say, probably a Abu Garcia Veritas.
Oh yeah.
Like a heavy. And for the reel would have to be like a Daiwa BG, like 1500. I think would probably have to be the reel.
Yep. All right.
Thinking.
Nice. What are you going to put on there for line?
For line would be Yozuri camo green 10 pound.
10 pound. All right. Very nice. Okay.
Yep. Just used to the lighter line, I guess, up here fishing the clear water.
Yep. There you go. That's smart. What about you, Tony? What are you thinking?
Got to go with a 7.4 medium heavy. I'm gonna go casting reel on this. Shimano, Corrado, 10 pound fluoro clear. Yeah,
there
probably
you go.
The most versatile setup. If I had one choice, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, huge fan of the Doomsday J Dams myself.
Oh yeah, they're popular.
Douglas Outdoors has a great rod as well for that. So those two.
That's freaking awesome.
Joe with the plug. I was going to plug him too, but I just,
Oh, no. Absolutely. We got him in there.
Yeah. Nice.
Let's get right to the meat of it, guys. What I'm looking for, this show is primarily all about fishing stories. So I'm looking for 2 stories from each of you. That story that you'll share, the one that you're most proud of, the one that comes to mind, like if you're at a wedding or a party or something like that, and someone that you don't know is like, oh, I hear you fish. Like that first story you're going to share with somebody. And then the other story that we want is the biggest... That one.
Okay. All right. Favorite go-to fishing story.
And if you guys want, what you can do, I'll buy you a little more time here. What you can do is go with your favorite fishing story and then have the other guy go with his favorite. And that way that gives you a little bit more time to think of the biggest flop.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, we've had so many good stories over the years. I don't know, Tony. Do you have anything off the top of your head? You want to go first?
Story. It's tough. It's just so many. It's a situational thing, but I think totally it's an environment. Like what did you experience? So, what type of conditions did you overcome? Early spring season when you're smallmouth fishing and 3 foot, and you're up 3 foot swells, and you're up on the front of the boat, GPS locked on a spot trying to fish a hump, and you just got water coming over the boat. I mean, and then you hook into a fish, you're still a little lazy. That's type of, this is a little guy, and you get him up, and it's a lot bigger than you think. I think is a total. That's definitely something I think of when I think of just unique stories.
Oh yeah.
So I guess one I could think of was we did a video up on the Salmon River a few years back. We were up there with Tony and our friend Corey, who was helping us film. And Tony and Corey are getting into the salmon, nonstop. These guys have it down, have it locked down, and I just cannot catch anything. All right. And then same type of situation as a tuna fishing trip. It's like Sunday, the sun's going down. John has still not caught a fish. We need to make this video. You see guys up there just snagging salmon left and right. We're really trying not to do that. We're trying to get the fly in their mouth like you're supposed to. So I'm working this one drift, and I keep working it and working. The sun's going down. Tony's yelling at me. Everybody else is leaving. Can't see anything. Then finally, I get this really nice female on the fly and just rode her down the river. Ended up landing the fish in the dark. That was probably one of my favorite stories, I think.
That's awesome. That's freaking awesome, dude. That's why, you know what? And I've actually had folks tell me and share stories about salmon fishing before as just being like, just one of those most amazing experiences, even like diehard bass fishermen. And they're just like, yeah, you got to go for the salmon run and have this experience. That's dynamite.
Now
it's definitely part of the entryway to like angling. Like you have to hit certain things and do certain things to like check off, and doing a salmon run is one of those. It's not easy. It's humbling for a lot of individuals, and the guy that you don't think can even like wade in water is the guy who's just yanking ththese things out. Like it's just like the craziest thing ever. I remember John, like literally he was almost ready to cry. Like he was just watching salmon get yanked in.
Like I'm sucking fishing.
Because like in New York for the salmon river, like there's like a time before sunset or after sunset. Yep. But literally, we were like, me and the guy were like on the clock, like looking on the watch, like, all right, bro, you got like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
3 minutes, and all of a sudden, like a 3-point on the buzzer just pulls it, and it was a great story.
That's awesome. That is awesome, because it's true. Like these animals will fucking destroy your psyche. They like, let's be honest here. I can remember this last year, one of my target like goals that I was really looking for, and I put a lot of time into one specific body of water because I knew they were there. I needed to get my first bowfin. I hadn't caught a bowfin yet, and I'm like, I'm looking for one, and I would see them like right around the spawn, like guarding babies and stuff, and I'm just like, God, I gotta get one of these suckers to bite, and I missed so many, just so many. Or I'd see one, going along the bank, and I just, focus on throwing my bait past that area as often as I could. Then one day I'm out there, and I flip this Texas rigged weightless Senko up underneath this bush overhanging from the bank, and it just got hammered. I laid back on this my medium light spinning rod. I leaned back, I set that hook, and all of a sudden it realized it was hooked, and it was like I had a pit bull on the other end of this rod. I could not believe this sucker. But like, they will break you down. If you're, when it's that close, and I can totally understand, like looking at the clock, like we're running out of time, like this is going to be over. That's it's amazing. So what about like
the dynamic of sight fishing in general?
Oh my God.
It doesn't even matter, like even if it's at night and you're watching, you get a headlamp on, watching these fish, it's like, that's what really kills the psyche of breaks you.
That happened to me yesterday. I was at the Swift River.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Yeah, I'm at the Swift River, and I'm at this one pool, and I don't really do that style of fishing where there's just a shit ton of anglers on this one little spot, because I'm like, I always feel bad, like I'm infringing on somebody's area, and 100% of the trout that I caught this year have been on Ned rigs, 100% of them. Doesn't matter what I throw. Yeah, not at the Swift. I have a chip on my shoulder with the Swift. I grew up near there. I've never caught a fish there. I'm changing that in 2023.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I've never caught a fish there. I've had, because the water is like, it's gin clear. People talk about clear water. This water is gin clear. You can see everything. So when there's big fish nearby, you 100% can see exactly where they are. And that's what we had going. We had a couple of big brookies and a couple of big rainbows that were just darting around these boulders in this one pool. And I was throwing spoons. I was throwing inline spinners, like tiny little inline spinners. My buddy threw a small crank. And then I said, I got to do it, man. I put on a 16th ounce EWG Ned head. with a little 2.8-inch paddle tail, and I got this one fish just to nose up against the tail as I was bouncing it across the bottom. It just wouldn't strike. And I looked at my buddy dead in the face. I was like, fuck it, let's go get tacos. And that's what we did. I was like, fuck it, it ain't happening. Awesome. So I'll be back there for sure, until we have safe ice. What's
up
that?
On the were you up at the S-turns or down below?
I was just below. Just below. Yep, just below. Yep. And then my buddy, he had, after we left the spot to go get tacos, he went to another spot even further down, and the place that I had never fished. And he's like, yeah, he calls me and he was like, dude, 5th cast. He's like, I just got a beautiful brookie. I was like, okay.
Son of a bitch.
I'm like, I knew I shouldn't have got started early on that honey-do list. I should have continued fishing. Funny. That was a fail on my part.
It's funny.
Chartreuse. Something chartreuse this time of year. They for some reason.
They love it. They love it.
This time of year. We fish that river quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up right there. I've had a chip on my shoulder with that place. I used to go and throw live bait with my dad, and it's like over by the Route 9 bridge, right over there where that line is where you can't go north any further because it's fly fishing only. But except this year, I've done a little fly fishing. I'm actually, I got to find like custom waders, but I'm going out with, a plan. That's this year. I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to, because I've seen absolute tanks. You walk up quite a ways closer to Quabbin.
Yeah. To the wide pool.
Yes. That big wide pool. Oh my God. It's like,
that's amazing.
It's almost like you see fish in there that you're like, is this the cover of like some kind of a fantasy novel? Like, is that real? I mean, there's just
like a Field and Stream magazine cover.
What do you guys feel about? You guys ever fish Quabbin at all?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on it? I find a lot of anglers are either it's split 50-50. Some people love it, some people hate it.
I think it will make a grown man cry, just like salmon fishing.
100%.
We're not typical. So Northeast, you're not thinking of a highland reservoir. Mm-hmm. We don't typically have them here. Champlain's probably your sort of closest type of. Yeah. But I mean, when you have to listen. There's some big U2 stars that came out on Quabbin and got skunked.
Yeah,
like that body of water will cripple.
Yeah,
even because that is not, there's 50, 60 foot of viz. There's no escape from the sun. That is a unique body of water. It's the love though.
Yeah, it produces, it's a grind. The best day I ever had fishing Quabbin, I didn't catch any bass. I caught a shit ton of white perch though. Nice. Shit ton. It was unbelievable. We just happened to just be in a spot where there was a big school, and I was like, all right. In fact, I was throwing a hellamite.
Nice,
that's what they were,
Bobby.
And I'm like, I was throwing a hellamite. At first I started throwing it on a drop shot, and they were just crushing it. So then I was like, all right, well, maybe we'll try and size up a little bit. So I threw what was it? I think it was a Provoke 106, big jerk bait. And I'm like, all right, we'll see what happens. Maybe there's a predator nearby. And I was kind of looking to match that same profile, thinking I would get something to just hammer it. I caught the biggest damn white perch I've ever seen on that jerk bait. Unfreaking believable. It's like, it's so majestic over there. It's amazing.
You just said it, dude. Even if you're out there and you're not catching any fish, you can just look around the whole time and you'll see, a bunch of bald eagles and possibly a moose. And I swear someday we're out there, we're going to see a Sasquatch. For sure.
100%.
Out there.
I tell everybody, I'm like, do yourself a favor. Even if you don't, you're not a diehard angler, go and take, a rod and reel and a couple of baits out, rent a boat and go to Quabbin. Go easy, have yourself a good time, be prepared, but it's worth it. It's
totally.
And you're right.
You can say that. You can say that now because it's self-service out there. There was a time that you couldn't just be like, let me go take the boat out, right? Because you would not know where you are in that lake. The state police and the Homeland Security would have to go find you.
That's very true.
Right? Like, that place is wild.
It is.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Times with fog.
Forget it.
I'd almost drive by the barrel line. Like, it's a total, like, It's crazy. You have no idea.
Yeah, it is. It's wild out there. So what about the epic fails? Where are we on those?
Okay. Epic fails. I mean, we have GoPros scattered across the continental U.S. Just losing GoPros left and right over things. So I guess there's that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm subject to forgetting to put the drain plug in the boat.
Oh, that's a classic.
Good one, Tone.
Classic.
Good one. How many times have I done that?
Dude, it's something. I think it's an entry to the trailer when you're trying to unload it, and you're like, "Why is this thing not coming off?"
Yes. No, there was one time me and Tony and I took out my little John boat on the Charles River, and I forgot to put the drain plug in, and we're chugging along, and all of a sudden the water's getting a little higher, and I'm like, this is all right, whatever, this is fine, and then it starts to actually come over the sides, like we should pull over.
Yep.
Yeah, no drain plug in the boat. We had to lift the boat up, drain it out.
That's rough.
Yeah,
it
could have been a lot worse.
There was a time, this was last fall, I was fishing Buffinville. A bunch of us were out there on our kayaks, and there was a guy, same thing, left the launch without the plug in the boat. And we had seen like this odd kind of, and Sean and I both joked, like this was like a tiny little Boston whaler style, like a skiff, And I was like, just like, that's such a random boat to have out here. But Sean and I saw these two old dudes on this boat, and we're like, that's us in like 30 years. You realize that, right? And they saved the freaking day, because this dude was out there with, I'm assuming it was his kid, one young kid with him. The kid was freaking out. He was like, we're going to freaking sink. And you could just see the tail end of the boat just start to drift down, under. They managed to get him off and give him a bucket. He popped the plug back in and started, pumping all the water out and everything. But holy shit, I couldn't believe it. I was like, that is insane. And there's a crowd of like 7 or 8 of us standing there at the launch with is Buffinville Army Corps of Engineers? I think it is. Yeah. We had somebody over there from the Corps of Engineers we were actually asking questions about. We're all sitting there, we're like, holy shit, what's going to happen here? It's unbelievable.
Was it like a big Z9 boat that was sinking?
It was a good sized boat. Yeah, it was.
Well, think about it. Like the old guys in the Boston Whaler, they bought the Boston Whaler because that can't sink. Yeah, right? So
exactly.
The guy, like, we ain't sinking ever, coming over and saving the guy who's like, I'm trying to go light speed on the water.
Exactly.
But forget to put the thing on.
Isn't it wild, the priority? It's nuts.
Yeah. John, I would have to say one of your fails is the trolling motor, not ever cleaning your trolling motor of the fishing line.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, there's that one too. Like, listen, we have a long list we could go through here. We're trying to pick the best ones. Okay? And that's the best fails.
That's not unlike any angler. And that's why I love that question, because that's the hardest part, is dialing in on like, what's that biggest epic fail? Like one of my favorite, he had shared this story. He was out with, I think it was his buddy's bachelor party. And they're out on the water. They're on this boat. They're doing some pike fishing. And he goes to, I forget what had happened. Like, he went to go like net this just giant, like probably a 36-inch plus pike, just a beautiful fish. And he goes to like scoop it up and loses it at the last second. And he's just like, yeah, it crushed me more than it crushed the guy holding the rod. He was like, it was just the epic fail, like the worst thing ever. And
that's one of the worst.
It sucks.
Yeah. Dude, being the net man is a lot of responsibility.
Oh my God.
It's like I hate, like you want to be the the friend that lands the fish for your buddy, but at the same time it's like you have all this, it's your fault, if you don't land the fish.
Oh, totally. It's like you and there's net man performance anxiety. You're just like, okay, shit.
Right.
All right, I got this, I mean,
don't fuck this up.
Yeah. And then shit happens, and every single guy's like, hey, dude, don't worry about it. Shit happens. And every once in a while, you get somebody who will let you know that you fucked up.
Tony will let you know.
I got that feeling.
Like,
well, it was nice man. I could get that fish to the boat. I love it, man.
No. You want to hear the biggest John fail?
Here we go.
I cracked open the can. Here we go.
Here's the deal. You got the HDS Live, right?
Yep.
The thing, bro, the thing will tell you where you live, the temperature of the pizza in your oven, bro. Right?
Yep.
All you got to do is look at it, right? John's driving the boat back to the ramp. I'm like, he's got this. Water's a little low, right? So I'm like, bro, nope. He grounds the boat on the fucking mud flats of Quabbin, dude.
Yep.
That sucks. That's thick mud.
But also hitting a few rocks before I grounded it too. It's like ping, ping, ping.
Oh my God.
But listen, the water was real low. The water was like his historic lows at that time of year. It was like end of summer. I'm not as familiar with the topography as Anthony Romeo is. Okay. But after that moment, I will never drive the boat on Quabbin ever again.
Yeah,
so.
I think it was the THC. He was staring at the birds or something.
I saw the Sasquatch. All right,
that's what it was. Yeah,
he's like, I'm gonna see a Sasquatch today somewhere. Meanwhile, we can't leave.
So I got we did this trip to Crumpton, Maryland. We fished I think it's called the Chester River or the Chester River. And it's a tidal river. I've never fished one of these before, but there is just this thick black mud that will just hold you if you grab it. So we're all in pedal kayaks, and there's some spots where it's like, yeah, you got to lift up your pedals and then, paddle as gingerly as you can to get through. It's like the end of the day. We've been fishing for like 11 and a half, 12 hours, something like that. We're at this one spot, myself, it's me and Cody Lockwood fishing. And Cody is a character. Oh, he is just an absolute savage. Of Crumpton, Maryland, he is the Tony Soprano of Crumpton, Maryland. To watch this guy operate on the water is insane. Everybody in town knows him. They know his deal. It is just nuts. So we're loading up the kayaks in this one spot, and I get a text from either Sean or Delirious Angler, and I get a text that's just like, hey, there is a bass boat headed upriver where you guys are, because they continue to go further back down where we initially had launched to try to clean up down there. And they go, there's this bass boat heading up your direction, and they're just flying. Tide's going out. Like, I wonder if they even said, I wonder if they're going to make it up as far as you guys are. So we're pulling the boats out of the water, and like just doing so is just insane. Like, just this mud is just awful. Like, you just get stuck in it. Disgusting. This boat comes up to this one bend in the river where it gets real shallow and goes, it's flying, and then it just goes it just stops dead because they got hung up in the mud. And we're like, there's nothing we can do to help them, man. There's nothing at all. We can't get that thing out of there for shit, because it was, the tide was just going out. Sit and wait at that point. Ridiculous. Wow. Yeah.
Hours.
Unbelievable. So I couldn't believe it. He's like, this shit happens. People come up here and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to beat we'll make it over there before it runs out. And they're like, we were, we miscalculated just a hair, and that mud will screw you up bad. Unbelievable.
See, Tony, it's not just me. Okay. Other people have made this mistake before, okay? Not just me.
That's a beautiful bird over there, Tony.
Well, is that a Sasquatch?
I love it. So, guys, do me a favor. Let everybody know where they can find out more about Fresh Baits, what you have going on. If you're working with anybody as far as like retailers or anything, give them a shout out here as well. Go ahead, promote yourselves a little bit, and it's kind of your moment.
Sure. Tony, you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Just gonna say, right now, best place to go is www.freshbaits.com with a Z. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok. Shoot us a DM if you have any questions about anything. A lot of people are hesitant to try the Scorpion because they've never seen one before.
Try it.
Once you try it, you will love it. That's the biggest thing, is just getting somebody to try it. Once they try it, they'll be like, they realize how much action it has and how much fish it can actually produce. So please just give that a try before you make any judgments about the Scorpion. Hellamite speaks for itself. Hellamite's sick. Just a killer Ned and drop shot bait. And yeah, we're both very thankful for everybody that's given our baits a try, that supported us over these last couple of years, and that continues to stay with us. And thank you very much for having us on, Bob.
Oh, glad to have you guys on. It's been long overdue, and I think the world is going to see big things coming from Fresh Baits. Big innovation, like really, really kind of offering something unique. And I appreciate the work you guys are doing to make that happen. So my hat is off to you. So unbelievable.
Thanks, bro. Thanks, dude. Tony, everything to say?
Yeah. Can we do the intro again? Can I be referred to as Tony Baloney if Bobby
Bobby roast beef. I figured Tony Mortadella might work a little bit better.
Mortadella!
It kind of works. You know what I'm saying? I love it. I love it. Oh, awesome, guys. Do me a favor. Send me, if you have a picture of the two of you together holding just a bunch of tanks from like a killer day, send it to me. We'll use it as the artwork for this episode. And we'll throw the Fresh Baits logo on there too.
You got it.
Awesome, guys. I appreciate you.
Yep. I have a quick couple questions for you.
Fire away. What you got?
What's your number one spot you want to go to fish?
Number one spot I want to go to fish?
That you haven't fished yet.
So, Chickamauga is on the docket for March. That's happening already. I think Clear Lake. Just because it's an entirely different style of fishing. This year, I kind of dipped my toe a little bit into big swim baits, and I'd love to go and fish that. I probably have a couple of lakes that would be on my list, but are kind of already like lined up on the docket. But yeah, Clear Lake is one that I would just love to go and check out. Plus, we've got some listeners and some friends of the show that are out in California. It'd be great to just fish with them.
Dope. We'll have fun in March. Yeah.
Last question.
What you got?
What's your go-to snack on your 40-inch kayak?
Go-to snack?
You can't think about it either. It should be just natural.
Go-to snack is definitely going to be David's Supreme Taco sunflower seeds.
Wow.
Sunflower seeds, yeah.
Sunflower seeds are a go-to. Always.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome.
Get those minerals and those good fats.
I saw you as a celery stick guy, bro.
Yeah, I know. Shockingly. Celery, carrots, things like that. Yeah, no.
Ranch dip.
Yep. Lunchables, although this year, I'm taking it with the truck camping and stuff. I've increased my charcuterie game quite a bit. The camp box has quite a few interesting items.
That is living the high life right there.
I do what I can.
You are taking that truck game to the next level.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm looking to do. Not so stealth camping. Awesome. That's the name of the game. I love it.
That's awesome, dude.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for doing this. This was a lot of fun. We'll be in touch, and I'm sure we're going to see you around a bunch of the shows and stuff. And let me know if you guys want to work with us as far as getting you some representation in the Springfield show. We're glad to do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Awesome, guys. We'll be in touch. Have a great one, all right?
All right, Bobby. Thank you very much.
All right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it, dude. See ya.
Jigs and Bigs is your favorite fishing podcast, right? Why not show the world how much you love the show while directly supporting us? We have men's and ladies' shirts, hoodies, and a variety of hats. We even have a waterproof outdoor Bluetooth speaker so you can listen to your favorite podcast while out on the water if you like. Check out jigsandbigs.com/shop to visit the store and gear yourself up. If you really can't get enough of this show, consider becoming a jighead and joining our Patreon. It's a subscription that gives you exclusive access to recording sessions that allow you to engage with us as we record the show. We also have some exclusive content there just for our jigheads and even have some special promo codes. Space is limited, so join now at jigsandbigs.com. Finally, if you're local to our area in Western Massachusetts, consider checking out the Western Mass Fishing Report, posted weekly at northeastwildwoman.com. We have amazing contributors providing great content and info for local conditions and what's been going on and working recently. Jigs and Bigs, so much more than just two lightly roasted hippies trapped in the 90s arguing on the internet about fishing. Here we are, folks. We're back with our third and final segment. We got Jigs and Bigs for you. I hope you guys... Actually, I have gotten some pretty good feedback. People seem to like this Geekin' with Galeka segment. They really kind of do. Which I think, for those of you that stick around for it, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And that is awesome. Because this is a lot of fun. It really is. Let's dive into... What are we going to do here? Are we just going to pick up where we left off from last week?
Well, we had discussed that I didn't have a chance over the last week, the first time we mentioned we had Bill on. I didn't have a chance to watch any of the movies now that we had discussed. Spelled DISGUST.
Exactly.
And you and I have seen Demolition Man a million times. I didn't need to go over that ground. Neither of you guys had seen Night Patrol.
I finished that one.
Yeah, and I went into the Feebles. Where do you want to start, Bobby? I mean,
so it's been a while since I have watched Meet the Feebles. Like I'll bet you the last time I watched Meet the Feebles was probably before we were in the house here. We were probably in my old apartment. So, that's got to be over a decade since I've seen them. But why don't you go ahead and start there? And then, go ahead and start there with your thoughts.
The cinematography for this movie. Let's start there. It's poor. I know.
Oh, it is. Yes.
I know Peter Jackson. I know Peter Jackson was just starting his career, and I understand they went over budget on everything and over the time. But it's really film wise, it's
hot
definitely
garbage.
Stuck in that time, and probably even poor. It looks like a 1980s movie that was made in the 90s.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a ton of issues in there where this movie could not be written that way today. All right. With, misogyny, sexual things, you name it. The whole thing cannot be made today.
Oh, of course not. The entire hashtag Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. And even with like the like I felt like with the what was he? Was he an alligator with the shell shock?
It was a frog.
Was it a frog? Yeah.
So the initial title of the movie was supposed to be Frogs Go to War.
Yeah. And
that that in any era was inappropriate.
Oh yeah.
It was bad. It was a rough ride.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Grampy went outside for a minute, and Grampy guided me through this adventure.
Yeah, no, you made the right call.
The amount of gun violence and murders was possibly above Die Hard.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It is. I don't know if I'll ever watch it again unless I say to somebody, "You've got to see this mess."
Exactly.
I guess the point of it was to parody showbiz in a, like you described it, Muppets on crack kind of way. And in that aspect, Peter Jackson succeeded.
He delivered
admirably. Yes.
And I have to wonder if that was the intent. Like at the beginning, if he was just like, oh, the world's not ready for this, but we're serving it up hot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was served up hot. All right. So I did have a couple laughs. There was a point where my wife, who was not paying attention to any of this bullshit, was on her phone fucking around. I was like, "What are you watching?" And I'm like, "Homework. I got to do homework for the show."
Perfect.
Yeah, it was an experience. I would, however, rate it higher than Night Patrol, though.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right,
yeah.
But Night Patrol has a couple of, like, it was funnier.
Oh, Night Patrol was funnier. Yeah.
Yeah.
In two ways. In some ways intentionally. In other ways, like, it was funny, but it was being completely sincere. I think some of it was just like the way, I don't know. It's just something about the way, like, maybe it aged maybe is also funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, to close the door on the Feebles here before you two guys start talking about Night Patrol, I'm going to give it half a star out of 5.
Fair.
See it if you're highly intoxicated, and then never see it again.
So you say that, yet Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has a 73% approval rating by the audience.
Yeah. I'm not watching it again. I can't do that.
I'm impressed you got the whole way through. I got through 20 minutes. My takeaways on this were, what the hell was with the nipples on the hippo's boobs? Which is never something I'd ever write down and say out loud.
Almost cartoon-like.
Right. Like almost, anime,
almost
like Japanese
like
hentai kind of hentai, whatever it's called, kind of way. Between the fly and the squashed furball things, it was just
disgusting.
Disgusting.
So with the knowledge that you guys have had, remember, I first watched that movie on a first date. You could see why it ended.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and then my third thought was so much Muppet sex, which
God,
yeah, like there was quite a bit of that
on the producer's desk. Mm-hmm. Like it was that scene where I was like, "Oh, this date's over,"
and that was in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
10 minutes in.
Those 3 thoughts are from 20 minutes. That's how far I got.
That's insane.
Well, then, if that was only 20 minutes, Bill, then you missed out on the porno shooting scenes. Those were something else entirely.
Oh my God.
In the basement. There was a walrus getting a beach under his desk. That was also fantastic. And then that's when the hippo nipples came out. I mean, it was just one hit after the other. I'm good with ever watching that movie again. I'm serious. Thanks for the experience. I don't know what to make out of it. And I know it exists now, I guess. That's all I can say.
One ring to rule them all.
Yeah. Peter Jackson is a lot more fucked up than I ever thought. Holy
Totally.
God. So, what did you two think of my gem that I fired your way?
Well, okay. So, so I got 45 minutes into this one.
That's better. It's halfway through.
I think I need to learn how to enjoy the properties of a certain plant that's now legal in Massachusetts.
Yes, it'll help
me get through some of these things.
We do.
Right. So I think my big takeaway from Night Patrol is that gimmick comedians always age like milk.
Definitely, 100%.
Like it's you have the unknown comic, you have like the Amazing Jonathan or Gallagher or whoever.
Yep.
They just age poorly just by the genre of how they make comedy.
Yeah.
Whereas you get like Robin Williams and Carlin and Murphy and whoever else, that stuff is timeless and it's still funny today.
Yep.
Again, another movie made in a different era, where you couldn't and probably shouldn't do a lot of what they did in this movie. It honestly, I think my biggest takeaway is it felt like the truly tasteless jokes version of The Naked Gun.
Yes,
that is a really good comparison. Yes.
For you know what, we have to let the listeners that are younger know what truly tasteless joke books are. So when we were in middle school,
oh God,
eventually someone went to the bookstore, and well before Barnes and Nobles, someone would go to the bookstore and go to the adult section and buy truly tasteless joke books, and they were as advertised, sexual jokes. Wasn't there a whole chapter devoted to dead babies in every book? I think there was.
I know more horrifying jokes because of those books.
Racial jokes. They were awful.
Oh,
they were again, a thing that could not be ever made again today. I wouldn't even know if they still exist. I have no idea. But when we were in middle school, they got passed around because somebody's dad or uncle had one, or someone had the balls to go in and buy one, right?
Older brother.
And that is a completely apt way of describing Night Patrol. It's Police Academy written in a truly tasteless joke style. That is amazing, Bill. Amazing.
Right. I'm chuckling and just it's not like amusement. It's like kind of like horror. It's just like coping mechanism. But the Pat Morita like sexual assault.
Oh my God.
I was like, what on earth is? Oh boy. Okay.
Back to cockfighting.
Right. Yeah.
That was the scene I was talking about. Like, dude grabs the other guy's head, and the other guy just pops up, and he's like, "Oh!" holding his eye. I'm like, "What the fuck?" Oh God.
So the one of the scenes aside from the Pat Morita scene that I saw in my heyday of coming back into the woods, coming back home from the woods at midnight or 1 a.m. after a keg party, was the scene in the police station where the term "I fucked her brains out" was used, which is an awful visual joke if you watch this movie.
Terrible.
But everyone will laugh uncomfortably when watching it, I'm pretty sure.
So you can still buy the Truly Tasteless joke books on Amazon.
Come on.
Oh, God.
I'm buying them.
Amazon sell the. Come on.
Yeah. You can buy them for your Amazon Kindle if you wanted.
Well, I don't.
Yeah.
Nor do I know anybody who does.
Read reviews that mention truly tasteless jokes, humor, laugh, racist parents, racism.
So
they're fucked up.
Yeah,
they are. I mean, like, I'm surprised that you can order them right now.
Oh my God,
that's horrifying.
Yeah.
How? I mean, I thought the world had changed.
Apparently,
only so much.
Right.
Only so much.
Yeah. It just, you had mentioned the Superman jokes, like just line after line, and the little person police chief who just had flatulence.
That was.
Oh, I forgot about him.
He just wouldn't stop farting, and it was like, what?
It was constant. I was like, am I hearing this? Like, there's a couple of times where I paused the movie because I thought it was the dogs. I'm like, the fuck is that? And I start.
Oh, it's awful too. Just, the sound effect was just nauseating.
Oh, and I love fart humor. Truly love it. But God.
Yeah, it's really. I think that is every aspect of this movie is a truly tasteless joke book brought to life.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Now you didn't make it to the end to where the pay dirt, to quote Shaun the Fisherman, was the topless Linda Blair.
That was underwhelming as advertised. It was less impressive than advertised.
It was. I was like, oh, okay, so that's it. All right.
Look, it wasn't anything we hadn't seen before, but
fair enough. Yeah.
But
it's, I mean, when you're used to seeing Linda Blair, vomiting pea soup and, her head rotating around backwards, shit like that, seeing her in a comedic role.
Well, I think what it was I had gotten so deep into this movie, and that was not unknowingly the light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? That was all
one of those things where like, oh, okay.
Hey, a boob.
Yeah, that's really it. It's really, really it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was something though. That was really something.
It was something.
Yeah, I don't know. So we've reviewed our movies. What do we want to do for next week? Where do we want to go with this?
I mean, would you guys be game to do like a list of favorite comedians? I only say this because I'm going to see one of them next weekend, so it works well for me.
List of what do you say, 3?
I would say 3. I think 3 is good.
I can do 3 comedians, no problem.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. I think that'll be fun.
So let's do that. List of three favorite comedians next week. We'll do that. That'll be our Geeking with Galekis.
And you know what we'll do?
Best bits.
Best bits. Yeah. Oh, you know what? You guys all use Spotify, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you find anything from them that you want that's on there, send it to me. And what we'll do is we'll just do a live react.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it'll be freaking awesome. It'll be fun.
Perfect.
Cool. I love it. That's awesome. Is that all we have for this week?
I think so.
I
don't really think we need to talk about Demolition Man or Deep Blue Sea, especially if we're going to get back into the LL Cool J song.
Yeah, that's true. That's gross.
Grosser than the Feebles and truly tasteless joke books combined.
I did look on Amazon for Meet the Feebles today. Where did you find it, Sean?
Oh, that was even funnier. So I went on my smart TV.
Yeah.
And I just typed in Meet the Feebles.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't on any pay service. It was one of those free shitty services. It just has a million crappy movies.
Oh, that's
it was on Tubi.
Tubi, yes, it was on Tubi. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. I'll go ahead and pop that on because I was like, I should rewatch it. It's been a long time, and I almost played it today. I almost ran it today, but I stumbled on that movie I'd mentioned earlier in the pre-show, Movie 43. That's a suggestion for any listeners. If you want to see something that's absolutely crazy, that came out in 2013, and I remember seeing there was something about it that stuck out to me right away. Like it definitely seemed familiar. I never got through the whole thing. It's worth it. It's a good laugh. but it's crude ass humor, like wicked crude. Be ready.
But I mean, it's got a massive cast.
It does. Some people.
Berry, Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah. Oh, the sketch with Halle Berry is amazing. It's a blind date thing where they play Truth or Dare, and it gets messed up. Oh man, it's fucking crazy. All right. We'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Appreciate you so much. We love putting this show together for you guys. And if you're around on January the 20th, if you're nearby to the Cheshire Rod and Gun Club, between the hours of, I believe, 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., go and swing by and check this out. If you're looking to pick up some gear, maybe to try something new for the first time, this is a great way to get a deal on a used piece of equipment to go and try something and think outside the box a little bit. 8
a.m.
Oh, it starts at 8 a.m. Okay,
yeah.
8 a.m. to 1 p.m. There we go. The follow-up to that is the Springfield Sportsman Show is coming up. I'm going to reach out to Doug this week, and we'll be talking about getting him on and getting some of the details about some of the people who are involved with the show. Again, we're going to have a booth there. Come by and say hello. We have a lot of friends of the show that I'm sure are going to be cycling through, and also we'll be eating lots of jerky. So, get ready for that. You have that to look forward as well. As far as any of that goes, I think that about does it for us. Make sure that you do us a big favor and go check out our Instagram and give us a like over there. Follow us on any social media on our Facebook. We've been actually pretty active over on our Facebook page, and we've been getting a lot more interaction, engagement going with followers there. Tournaments are coming soon. The multi-species tournaments are coming, both with Chronic Trips and the official Jigs and Bigs ones. Keep your ears to your podcast platforms for details, as we're hoping to have some new stuff coming to get some newbies, kind of shake off some of the rust a little bit from the winter, potentially during late in March as we get going. But remember, Chronic Trips kicks off in April, and then in May, it's a Jigs and Bigs tournament, and it is on, baby. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm getting involved in every single one of these, and I'm just kind of using this as a way to make content. That's pretty much it, but give it a purpose, and I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. With all that said, folks, enjoy it. Get out there, tag us in your pictures if you're catching any fish. If you're out there on the ice, let us know where you're at. And as always, like we always say,
Wilma?
Wilma who?
Wilma balls fit in your mouth, bitch.
On vacuum cleaner. Hey.
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 I'm recording podcast greatness up here.
Answer the doorbell. Now it's vacuum cleaning time at 9 o'clock. And what the fuck? All right.
Oh. All right.
Now it's vacuum cleaning time at 9 o'clock. And what the fuck?
We're rolling.